And welcome everyone to the fifth Anchor Games. We're here now with our last opens for before we head over to the feeders, where we'll see the last couple of teams battle for those last 8 spots in the tournament. We are on Thunderdome this evening, so do bear with us in case there are any technical difficulties. But our wonderful team of CCP Zealous, Chocolate Rain, Dirk, and Soph are running things in the background. I'm joined here with commentary this evening with Wingnut and Ithaca, that you'll be seeing on screen rocking the shades, with Mazir and Cher joining us as well later. We have a total of 10 teams this evening joining us, with Javco Mining Division, Turbo Fetal Glory, Delvitrix, Wolves Among Strangers, Rusty Hyenas Team, Fancy Pants, No War Dot, Shadow Cartel, WTB, Cat Ears 500 Plex, and Hangry Nubs. So just a quick hello there from Wingnut and Ithaca. Wave for the audience, please. Fantastic.
G'day, mate.
All right, so actually, we have a bit of a tight schedule to run things today, so we'll be heading over to our first match quite soon now. And with that, we'll be actually handing it off to Wingnut and Chair, who'll be running the commentary for the first match of Turbo Feed or Glory versus Javcar Mining Division. The teams are still setting up, but we'll be waiting for them now. Just once again, verify as it is our first day on Thunderdome once again.
Oh yeah, everything's gonna be fresh and new, and I'm guaranteeing something's gonna break somewhere. It's gonna be great.
Definitely.
Man, why are you stealing my flow, man? That smug ass smile too. Because this man knows he rocks it better. But it's like, god damn it.
I'm just here to look good. It's what I get paid for.
Paid?
So,
Yeah.
Wingnut, were you with the previous feeders already?
Not last time, but the one before that, yes, I was. I was there for those.
I've actually missed quite a lot of this with some real life issues happening, but the one thing I'm excited to see is the meta that's coming out. I've kind of removed myself from the tournament meta for a while now, but I'm really interested to see if these battleship changes are actually going to be making effect on the matches that we'll be seeing.
I think battleships are very, very strong, but of course the problem of always putting your eggs in one basket. And we've seen people abuse that on both sides, making really strong cores, but also just make cores that are abused, aka ECM stuff like that. I can't say too much. I am in a team, so I'm not going to give all of my hints, but you know.
Oh, which team are you in?
I don't actually remember the name. Hold on. Hold on.
Member,
I'll
clearly.
let me find the name. Hold on a minute.
Yet to be
Ramrod
team.
Reloaded.
Oh, you've heard of Ramrod, of course.
What are you sure about? Is that your final answer, Wingnut?
I'm not sure. We'll ask Wrath when he gets back in here later. He might have just kicked me out.
All right. And Ithaca, for you, I know we haven't really seen the proper meta. Opens as always, sometimes people can consider it's a bit of a throwaway or, just YOLO around. But some people do actually take it more seriously recently, I've seen. But any kind of meta changes you've spotted quite yet, or too early to say?
I think it's definitely too early to say, but we see a lot of the sort of triple Gila setups being used. The Gila is very strong in this format, and it's become almost a bit of a pick or ban ship. Usually, if someone leaves it unbanned, then they're planning on bringing it themselves. There's been very, very few instances where that's not been the case, and usually, if one team doesn't bring it, even though it's unbanned, the other team does and wins. It's been very strong. So that seems to be a very dominant meta right now. So I expect to see that being a targeted ban in the at least the first weekend of the main tournament.
But I do love seeing those very strong, so I say quote unquote obvious strong meta picks you see in the beginning, like I said, the Gila, because it's always interesting if teams are holding back those hard counters that they know in some way that they have for them, pocketed away. But it's always hard to say if something strong as a Gila, which is just like you say, you take it or you lose.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, speaking of, there's at least 6 Gilas on grid right now. So this is exactly what we were talking about. Both teams have unbanned, left them unbanned, and then they've both like, cool, well, Gila time it is then.
Someone please get the Ithaca a way to help count, because there's only 5 on grid, not 6.
I rounded.
Oh man, CCP round.
It's the Gila in your heart. That's the one he has.
You have to keep in mind that Ithaca is from Volta, and they have a little bit issues with math.
That is true. 1, 2, 4. What?
I mean, I only see 5 players on the blue team at the minute.
Yes,
So
exactly.
when that 6th Gila warps in, you can all shove it. Because inevitably there's another Gila somewhere hiding.
I don't think they can. I think their points. I'm not sure. If that or they just screwed it up. I think they just screwed it up actually. Yeah. Oh well.
So, for those who might be joining the first time for this series of Anger Games, something quite special has happened with the rules. The more you take a specific ship, and that means we declassify harpies and hawks are 2 different ships in this case. But the more you take one same ship, the more the points increase for that. So repetitive picks get punished points wise. You can diverse, so you can have Svipples and Jackdaws, but if you focus on Jackdaws, you will get penalized for taking a repetitive pick. So while these Gilas are strong, the teams will be paying for that in a points premium.
Yeah, another way of looking at it as well as a comparison, it's like the old Highlander rule from previous alliance tournaments, but it's a soft limit. You're not actually forced to not take more, but if you do, it starts to cost you.
Okay, well, it seems the teams are ready to start the match now, so we will actually be handing off for this first match to Wingnut and Chair.
Alrighty. Go.
We are ready.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Sorry. Welcome, boys. We got a beautiful match, and we said 5 Gilas. I'm of course Wingnut, joined by Chair. Chair, which team do you want to start telling us about?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really know either of these guys. I fought Fancy Pants the most on Tranquility, so I'm gonna put my. Is Fancy Pants on grid? Sorry, I am disorganized. Turbo Feed or Glow?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Turbo Feed. I like the name the
Is it
most.
Turbo Feed? It says Fancy Pants on the screen. Am I being bamboozled?
It is Turbo Feed and Jovico.
Oh,
according to the sheet.
Okay. Well, anyways, they have brought an Underman comp for Jovko, Sleipnir, Scimitar, Triple Gila. And the Sleipnir, by the way, is autocannons, not arty, so it's potentially a rush fit. Meanwhile, we've got a Widow on the other side, also being backed by Gilas.
Indeed. Am I seeing this correctly? The blue team is short 2 pilots?
Yes, they're short 2. I'm not sure why. They're not even like over their points as far as I'm aware. They're expensive points, but I'm not sure they're the whole way there.
I mean, this is pretty much just a mirror matchup, and they're
both
losing out on 2 ships.
Yeah, they're both focusing scimitars as well, so they're both the same idea. That's one thing about Gilas. The scimitar can never get any respite from it. The scimitar is almost guaranteed to die to Gila's fan.
Yep.
As you can see, the scimitar on the Underman team has been hard tackled, so I'm sorry, buddy, you are gone. Goodbye, sir.
As well as the interesting part to this to me is the Widow on the Jovico side.
Yep.
I'm not seeing any jamming coming out from it either. I think it is just completely shielding. No, there is some. There's some.
Yeah, it's got ECM for sure. It's also using a rapid heavy fit rather than cruise, which is I would say a bit of a bold decision. It means you have to keep pushing your Widow in. They're actually beating this Draugr down pretty heavily, considering that that scimitar's still on grid.
Yeah, they're not gonna go down without swinging.
Yeah, that Draugr is also booking it as fast as he can, trying to drag these drones across the entire arena. So even if they do kill him, it will take a little while for the drones to get back. So that's how you make your death worth it if you do die. But it does look like he's not going to die, as his Gila is just getting obliterated. Pop. Gone. Oof. I wonder if maybe some of their parts can make it in system or something, because, yeah, there's undermanned and underpointed, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, there's no idea what's going on with Thunderdome. It's our first bout with it, so
yep,
it's always the fun time.
It's always the worst. Oh, well, fortunately they haven't been able to kill anything. They probably should have just kept all the Gila drones on the opposing scimitar just to try and break it as well, because this Draugr is now sitting at full shield, so there's nothing they can do.
Did the Jovico's red, correct?
It says turbo feed on this main screen now, so I'm assuming it's turbo feed. Oh, they're flipped. Okay, sorry. So yeah, Jovko is the one in blue apparently. Oh. Yeah, sorry. Jovko is in red, Turbofeed is in blue. My apologies, boys. I got bamboozled by the voice in my head. I blame him.
It's funny, I was
But
hearing the
unfortunately,
same
it doesn't
voice.
matter. Yeah. It's a very weird voice. I'm not sure I like it. But looks like
Buzz it.
Turbofeed is going to get absolutely feed for sure. There's nothing they can do.
2 men down, points down. It was a hard hill to climb.
Yeah, and like this Sleipnir is very great for killing cruisers and up, but unfortunately this Skybreaker has him hard tackled and he can't even shoot him. I mean, sure he could try with his autocannons, but without a web to help, he's screwed. Utterly screwed. So yeah. Nothing we can say.
Skybreaker, also one of the fastest non-T2 frigates in the game. And tankiest, too.
Oh yeah. It's very tanky, very cheap. Ah, well, that was a quick one. We'll have to figure out why they're missing pilots later.
Maybe daylight savings time happened again. We just don't know it.
Or they just really, really, really like healers. Ah, well, goodbye, Sleipnir. You're tanking quite well, but it's not going to make a difference at all. Thank you for coming. See you in the next match. Okay, I said that expecting him to die immediately, then he managed to hold on for a bit too long. He ruined it. He ruined my monologue. How dare you, Zero Gravitas? It's your fault. And there he goes. Alright, well, let's head back to the studio and talk about that one and the next one. Hello?
Okay, sorry. We're just having our first dry run here, everyone. But that's our first match, it seems. I honestly expected a bit more of a curb stomp to Turbofeed's detriment there. Ithaca, what do you think made them hold out so long, even though they were undermanned and lost their logi earlier?
I don't really know, to be honest. It did seem like they were holding on a little bit longer than they had any rights to be, simply because they didn't bring enough people. I mean, we saw the Widow on the... It's hard to remember who was who because there was so much confusion going on there with the teams, but I believe the Turbofeed guys got stomped on by Jovko. Jovko brought that Widow, and the 3 Gila damage was just not really super applying for whatever reason at the end. Maybe someone had tried to define Gila drones, which is a terrible idea. To be honest, that match was just kind of showing the pitfalls of Thunderdome for now. Like a lot of technical things there. Thunderdome is tricky to get going, but once you get it going, it's very good. But we're very lucky that we have the support of CCP. CCP Zealous is sitting in a different channel right now, probably smashing keyboards in to make things work for the next couple of matches. But yeah, that's why we practice. Helps us too.
I wonder what his keyboard budget is.
But speaking of like mashing keyboards, now I haven't played in a while, so I'm not sure if this is still a thing. But when you've been playing, is the drone bug still a thing? Are you aware of a drone bug losing targets? Drones just deciding to go on strike mid pursuit?
As far as I'm aware, no. But drones, once you lose lock, I believe it's like 5 or 10 seconds, they will actually just stop shooting entirely. They will stop engaging the target, so they no longer just stay on the target infinitely. There is a limit to that. So if you lose lock, you do lose damage after a while. I remember exactly what the time for that was.
In my team, there was some notorious raging because even when we were using things like Gilas in the last Anger games or AT and stuff, drones would just stop. Because one thing I did see at a time there was who is like Jovko's Scimitar is doing quite well at tanking or evading the medium Qatari Vespas, which are chasing it. Ironically, at the same time, while you guys were saying that there's no way that a Scimitar can outrun drones. But then again, I think that might just be a bad choice of drones, using Vespas against a Scimitar. Chair, do you have any comments on the drone choice that we're using to chase that Simi? Are you with us, Chair? Okay.
I'm here. I mean, you have to with the drones, you have a sacrifice between damage type and actually being able to track it, and also being able to stay in range of it. So it's always like hard to choose if you want the Predators, which shoots into the best resist of the Simi, or going Vespas, but they're a lot slower and the tracking is worse. So it's always a difficult choice.
Because it felt to me when I was looking at the one moment that they were trailing that scimitar quite well, which is why that kind of bug occurred to me. Mazir, I'm not too sure if you had some eyes on that match. If any comments you'd like to make.
Well, one thing about these drones and the Widow is that the Widow could be jamming the drones at the beginning, and that could heavily reduce the amount of damage on the scimitar. Since healers only have 2 drones, so there was 3 healers on the turbo feeder glory team. So there's 6 drones in total, and if the Widow had like 3 jammers, then it could jam out half of the DPS easily.
It's actually a very fair comment you're making with that Widow on field, because the one disadvantage of Gila's or the Garista's ships is while they do pack quite a bunch of their drones, they have a reduced quantity, which allows you to focus any E-War or fire or tackle onto them. So definitely one of the shortcomings of a Gila if someone is on the ball with their ECCM, especially if it's a single ship, which can put his jams wherever he wants there.
I think it's worth noting, by the way, that Turbofeed banned the Ishtar, didn't ban the Gila, which is an interesting one. It says we don't want to see drones, but we're still okay with the Gila being there. So they clearly wanted to bring the Gila the whole time.
Field drones rather than armor drones.
Exactly. So they were just like, yep, we want to bring that Gila. Whereas in their next match, we have a Gila ban, which is somewhat expected.
At least at the moment so far, we haven't so in the last Hunger Games and in the last Opens, we have seen the idea of drone kiting, where you throw your drones and you burn to like beacons, start pinging or whatever. I have not yet seen that sort of idea with Gilas yet. They've seen drone kiting, we haven't seen drone MJD kiting. They bounce off the beacons, so I don't know. Maybe they're trying to avoid that potential fate. Maybe they didn't want to see that sort of idea, or maybe they just didn't want to see armor.
I feel like drone MJD counting is a bit of a skill, obviously because of the hard angles you normally need to take on approaching the MJDs. Because MJDs are there's one at the center, and then from the center in the cube, 100 kilometers on each side, but 85 kilometers from the center. So burning towards one, there's always that trouble of making sure you're taking your turn correctly while still staying on the beacon, while still lining up to where you want to go. So there's a lot that goes into it. But then again, this is the Opens, and it's a good time for people to practice these sort of things.
Exactly that. It's a perfect time to try things out. Silly things, crazy things, fun
we
things.
do have the next team starting to take the arena here. The next round, we're going to be having Del Vitrix versus Shadow Cartel. So, Chair, do you have the bans there? Can you go over which teams have banned?
Yeah, give me. So, Del Vitrix has banned Blackbird, Valgorn, and Scorpion. And then Shadow Cartel has banned Golem, Gila, and Ishtar. The Blackbird and Scorpion seems pretty vanilla to me. I don't want to see ECM with this comp. I'm going to ban out 2 of the easiest ships that you can put in almost any ECM comp. And then the Balgorn is just an overall good ban because it has strong webs, it has strong newts, and it's just a very tanky ship, so you can't remove it off the field. Now, the Golem, what were you saying?
Interesting they banned the Scorpion rather than, say, a Kitsune or a what's it called? The other one.
I'm wondering if this is now the battleship change coming as well. The Kitsune is the EAF, and the Griffin's the T1 frigate.
Also, why Scorpion not Widow instead? Because out of all those, the Scorp's the weakest one.
So from my point of view, the Widow is the most important. It's the most expensive point wise for a battleship. Correct? I believe the Shack might have it tied, but it's just so much of a commitment. And you have to pair it with either a Kitsune, which is easily dealt with most comps because of it's a frigate. As long as you can be able to catch up to it a little bit, it should be fine. So to me, it makes sense to ban the Scorp or the Blackbird because of just point values.
Blackbird for sure. I just don't see Scorp. The Scorp requires as much support as the Widow does. But that's the thing. We can always think. That's what I love about this. People have different ideas on stuff.
All right. Well, we do have the teams ready already. So we'll hand over to the match with this game. We'll be having Ithaca and Mazir commentator.
I assume we're in the match now. Yeah, so welcome to Delve Victrix versus Shadow Cartel. I'm Mythicahawk, joined by Mizir, and the countdown is underway. Only 15 seconds. Let me just quickly go through the Shadow Cartel team. They've got Widow, they've got Executor, they've got a Rook, they've got Draugr, they've got Star of Fleet, they've got Pontifex, and they have a Purifier. Miz, what are Delve bringing?
Yeah, so the Delve team brought a standard armor brawl setup with 2 Hyperions, 1 Anubis, 1 Draugr, 1 Hyena, Tackle Vengeance, and Mauler that could be either Tackle or Neuting. So the Delve team did ban out the Scorpion and the Blackbird, and in return, the Shadow Cartel team just said, "Fuck you guys, we're bringing the Tech 2 versions of these ships," and let's see how that goes.
Yeah, at the moment, Azure and Argent getting currently primaried in that Hyena by Shadow Cartel. They want to get those long-range webs off the field. They really need to be able to just move around, especially their small ship like that Purify. They do not want him to get annihilated. That Hyena is just not getting... He's getting reps now. The Aneros of Matthias doing absolute work, but can he keep him alive for the rest of the match? No damage right now on anything other than now someone to the Widow.
Well, the Shadow Cartel team does have a lot of ECM, and they are jamming the Oneros, so if one of these jams land, it can be enough to just wipe up that Hyena, but he is pulling back. There's a drone swarm on him, but he is getting out of range. But that's not fast enough. He goes down, and there's a lot of that control being gone already.
Yeah, that Widow currently is burning away from a couple of Hyperions, which are chasing him down with absolute gusto in their eyes. There's Purifier coming around as well to try and maybe screen off one of those Hyperions. If they got on top of that Widow, which it looks like they might do, it could be end of the game for him, because 2 Hyperions put out an absolute metric buttload of damage. It looks like the Rook now taking a bit of damage as well. One of the problems with ECM now, of course, means that you jam people and everyone has to shoot you.
Yeah, we're seeing a brawl right now, and actually looks like the Widow is pulling a little bit away. He's trying to get into the fall of range, as the Mauler has absolutely been locked down and is getting hammered by everything else. Meanwhile, one of the Hyperions is tackled by the Stabber Fleet issue, so he'll struggle to keep on the Widow, but there's still 1 Hyperion on that Widow. With using these ECM ships, they can force the ships to shoot... to lock one of the targets they don't have jam, sorry, they're not on top of, so they can control the amount of incoming damage this way.
Yeah, the Widow is being slowed right down now as that Hyperion gets in right on top of him. He'll be loading Void, he'll be overheating, and he will be pressing F1 as hard as he can on that Widow. There's only so long that Widow is going to be able to survive the damage done by one Hyperion.
Like the Rook has been caught by the Hyperion, and this is a really bad thing for the Shadow Cartel team. The Rook is clearly not as tanky as the Widow, and it's taking a heavy amount of damage. This is not what you have wanted to do. Like, how did you get the Hyperion on top of your Cruiser?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be honest, it's good piloting by Delve right now to split their Hyperions up, send one after the Widow, one after the Rook, lock both of them down, and force that Aneros to try and save one of them, because he is not going to be able to save that Rook if he has to also rep the Widow. But right now, he's doing all right.
The Hyperion is jammed and the Rook is pulling away. This could save him. In the meantime, the Mauler is in structure, so he's going down real soon. It's going to be hard for the Delve team to claw back after this with 2 ships down.
Yeah, that's the thing about ECM though, is it can go really badly. All of a sudden, the perfect set of jams land, and you start just annihilating. Liam though, in that Purifier, dropping very low. His buddy in the Oneris is going to be struggling to keep everything alive if these jams fail. At the moment, Shadow Cartel riding the RNG train to what looks like potential victory right now. Every time Delve get close to killing a ship, it looks like jams land just in time to save them.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit more than just RNG. I think they've actually been doing really good target calling with the jams, like trying to cover for each other, and enabling each other to escape. Like the Delve team haven't been able to do much of a play, and most of the time, like looking at that attack bar, it's actually not being that big. Just another Vengeance down, so they are like losing all the control, just having the Draugr and the 2 Hyperions left to actually kill stuff with.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't count 2 Hyperions out, because they do an absolute crap ton of damage, as we spoke about earlier on, and they've got a lot of control on them. So if they get on top of something like both of them on the Rook, for example, it will die if a set of jams fail. And 2 Hyperions can tank a long time. The damage coming from the Shadow Cartel team is not going to be that much. But that's another ship down for Delve, losing that Draugr, takes some links off the field. So Shadow Cartel in a very commanding position. It really is up to the RNG gods now to just secure the victory for them.
I mean, it's really unlikely that both the Hyperions are going to be atop of anything other than the Stabber. Like, I can always see it screening the Hyperions, preventing them to doing much of a move. In the meantime, their own Delve Oneros is getting tackled, and the swarm of blue drones on top of him. So he's going to be the next target. They want him down before they start grinding on these heavily tagged Hyperions. But they have plenty of time, and they are in a comfortable position. Like, the only one of their ship that's getting threatened is the Stabber fleet issue.
Yeah, I mean, Stabber fleet issues are kind of crap anyway, so I'm just surprised the 2 Hyperions can't kill one, but that is the power of ECM, having a Widow and a Rook on field. I haven't checked, but I expect there might be some ECM bots cutting around as well. If not, it will be rep bots. But there you go. Alexis now back up to full armor. It's just, they're making slow work of this.
The Stabber fleet issue did burn out of range of the Hyperions. I'm not entirely sure how the Stabber fleet issue is fit, but it's possible to dual prop it to make it extra slippery even when they're getting in close. And being a high-speed, low signature of a cruiser, it can be hard for these battleship guns to apply. But it looks like the Hyperions are burning for the Rook. He really needs to be moving fast. He's just sleeping, casually moving at 200 meters per second. Oh, he's getting up to speed, but might be a bit too late now.
Yeah, these 2 Hyperions are really going to struggle. One of the things about ECM-based teams is as you kill members of the other team, your jams become more focused because there's less targets. So now you've got all the jams from the Widow and the Rook focused onto just 2 ships. However, they can still shoot you because if you're jamming them, they can shoot you. So one of those Hyperions can catch up to that Rook. If they both go after him, he can't jam them both. He has to rely on the Widow.
Looks like he got out of in time. Like, I don't think these Hyperions have any scrams. So they are limited to webbing, which allows these cruisers to still hit the micro warp drive and get some speed up. And it's really like Lord Jackson in the Hyperion is taking a heavy amount of damage, still trying to repair, but at this point it's going to be really hard for them to claw back. They have 3 minutes remaining, and mostly just a cleanup job for the Shadow Cartel team that has all their ships remaining.
Yeah, GF's starting to appear in local. I think clawing back is far beyond it at this point. The best they could really hope for is a couple of failed jams and taking maybe the Purifier with them. But Lord Jackson's clinging on to life as long as he can. Of course, Hyperions get that local active rep bonus, so they're very hard to kill. But they will die against the damage coming from the Shadow Cartel team here. Very handy victory from Shadow Cartel there. Commanding, some would say, with all 7 ships still alive. Great logistics piloting and great jam primary targets we saw from Shadow Cartel, spreading out the 2 Hyperions, spreading out the Rook and the Stabber fleet issue to try and slow down both Hyperions, move them around, get them out of position, and then just slowly work through them. Good job, Shadow Cartel.
Yeah, they've been showing us how to really execute the ECM comp like this, utilizing the ECM and the screening of the Stabber fleet issue to control the match. And we're having more good fights in local as the remaining Hyperion is getting shot a little bit, still trying to repair, but at this point, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and unfortunately for all of you watching Hyperions slowly die, that time can be quite long because Hyperion's very tough nuts to crack. So favor, just stop trying, give up. It's time to put that ship out to pasture. You're not going to make it to the end of the match. He's going into Hull now. Everyone in the other Shadow Cartel side basically full armor. There was a bit of sweating from some of them, I'm assuming, when the Purifier started to get hit pretty hard. But yeah, everyone survived. Could they have done anything different, do you think, the Delve guys?
I think actually they got countered in the drafting. They have been lacking the tools to really deal with these kind of ships. And yeah, the match show are GFs and local, and sending it back to the studio.
All right. Well, then, while we're transitioning here, well done to Shadow Cartel for taking that. But on your last comment there, Ithaca, what they could have done different, I know you spoke about the Hyperions splitting themselves up, but actually, credit to Alexis and the Starboard fleet. He pretty much tackled one of those Hyperions right from the start, and he forced those Hyperions to separate while they couldn't secure the kill on the Rook. And I think the other thing I noticed as well is that while they were using the heavy rep drones for the Hyperion, they kept on their Oneros the entire match and weren't moving them around.
Yeah, when you're facing a ECM comp, you probably don't want to be moving your rep bots around too much, because if you risk getting jammed and not being able to move those bots back for 20, 40 seconds, that could be catastrophic. So best off leaving them on the Oneros, even if it's maybe slightly suboptimal in other parts of the field. But yeah, like we saw, I think they did pretty well just to kind of force Shadow Cartel to work for it. But as Miz said, they were countered kind of in the draft. That would, I think, 8 times out of 10, Shadow Cartel wins that match. A couple of times, maybe they get lucky on a couple of rounds of jams, get both Hyperions on top of something like the Rook. Take that Rook out, suddenly the jam strength goes down, match starts to get a little bit easier, snowballs a bit. That's really the only way I see that match winning for that team.
No. Double Hyperion is a scary combo to see. Did you have a favorite going into that match when they showed up on grid?
Potential for the Hypes to win, but honestly, as long as that Widow Rook comp was well flown, there was effectively nothing they could do. Because at one point they did get the Rook tackle, but the other Hype was a mile away, and they had the Widow tackled and the Rook tackled. It's like, great, we've got them both, right? And then the Widow jams the guy tackling the Rook, and the Rook jams the guy tackling the Widow. It's like, you've tackled nothing. And of course, they used their support wing very well. The Saber fleet was doing great work. The Draugr was obviously providing the links and also flying very well. That is a hard comp to break. The best thing you can do with those Hypes is just rush and pray.
Yeah.
Not much more you can do.
So it's almost, you could say, a bit more of two grindy comps meeting each other, but definitely Shadow Cartel having the edge there with a lot more control on their side, whereas Delve had a lot more hit points and maybe damage, but then again, we just see that execution of the control coming into play there. Chair, do you have any comments about that last match?
Watching the moment that the Rook was tackled by the one Hyperion and just watching them get ECM'd was beautiful, because that's how you have to play that comp to be able to win. Because they lose that Rook, it just all folds. You would have seen an exact opposite situation happen.
So the next round of teams will be taking the grid shortly, which will be Wolves Among Strangers and Want to Buy Cat Ears 500 Plex. Was taking a quick look at the bans here, and I accidentally misread it and thought that someone had banned Jintan. That would be
That'd be a
something.
strong. Do you know what? We should do that. We should make it so you can ban individual people
Pilots.
instead of a ship.
Oh, okay. But Chair, do you want to quickly go over the bans that the teams have chosen?
So Wolves have banned Gila, Blackbird, Ishtar, and then Jintan's team has banned Deacon, Golem, and Hyperion. Now, I've seen this Golem banned twice, and I've been doing quite a bit of practices, and I haven't seen anything around Golem. So I'm really curious what's going on in other people's practices and make them want to ban these Golems so much.
Okay. Well, we'll be taking the arena now and handing it over to myself and Chair, who will be the commentators for this round. All right. So I'm Zoo, and joined by my lovely companion here of Chair. So on grid now, we have Wolves Among Strangers in the red, and Want to Buy Cat Ears 500 Plex in blue. What are we seeing on grid here, Chair?
From the red team, we're seeing a Shaq, Vedmak, Zarm, and Draugr with a little bit of support, a Hyena and a Heretic. From blue, we're seeing another Zarmazad, a Scorpion, and a Batten, a Vigilant, and some other just spattering of T1 cruisers for support. And it looks like the match is starting as well, because links are going up.
I'm really going to love to see how these Zarms are working, because while the Zarm has really, really strong reps and some of the best range, it doesn't have any fall-off, and it can only focus on a single target. Although it can still pack medium reps on it, those medium reps do not have a range bonus, as we already see the Zarm of Synth being targeted here.
The Scorpion just MJD'd to one of the corner MJDs, and it looks like he's just going to be bouncing around. I think the Zarm is going to work best for Jintan's team, because they have the Scorpion. The other team has to focus that Scorpion. So they're basically making it so they can only shoot the Scorpion.
Yeah, that's like you say, already a good call. Just pulling out there, taking advantage of that range, and that Scorpion's already in a position to take another MJD if anything would pursue it. Although saying that, that we're finally getting our first bit of damage going over onto Wolves Among Strangers of the Vedmak of Ginger there, trying to get the high DPS assault cruisers off.
Now the Leshak of Wolves Among Strangers, they have a very strong sensor strength, and from what I can see on my screen, it has a local SIBO as well. So it's probably going to be running ECCM. So it's going to be very hard to keep that Leshak from doing any damage to other
that being
ships.
said, you can say we have a bit of a trig mirror match, although it's mostly the arms. But Wolves is running a lot more trig, and they require the spool ups. But obviously now Jintan's team hero of Cat Ears has brought the Scorpion, which I think would probably be an effective counter against these spools. As we're saying that there is some split damage coming over to Jintan in the Punisher and Ashley Trainer in Thorax, but Wolves getting a lot of pressure onto their Heretic there at the front there.
Yep, and that Thorax looks like it's about to go down from the overwhelming DPS of the Leshak as it starts to ramp up.
Either a bunch of unlucky jams, or like you say, that ECCM paying off as you actually see Ashley Trainer in the Thorax go down.
But they're about to trade out the Heretic too.
Ooh, but they're looking out for the Vigilant follow-up. The Vigilant, while it still does do a lot of damage being a faction cruiser, it does still suffer from a lack of hit points most of the time, and it might pay for that right now.
This, the Wolves Among Strangers team is a very slow burning comp almost, because you have to wait for all these Triangulavian ships to start spooling up to really apply their damage to get going. But once they get going, it's just like a train. You're not stopping it easily.
We're also seeing Wolves focusing more on the utility drones of couple of ECs, couple of damage, couple of light, while we see Cat Ears focusing a bit more on their rep bots, I seem, as it actually doesn't seem to pay off as they lose their captain of Jintan.
Oh, they're about to trade out more cruisers. They still have an Abaddon on their team, but toe-to-toe with a Leshak, I don't think an Abaddon can take it.
Yeah, this is going to be rough right now. Probably going to be losing the Vexor too. That Vexor likely applying a lot of the heavy tackle and utility from the ship, able to make use of those mid slots, even using its highs for newts, which can put a lot of pressure on these Triglavian ships as well. But if that falls down, Cat Ears is going to lose a lot of their utility, only relying on that Scorpion and Abaddon to really pull the match through now, which I don't think is going to really be possible.
The Scorpion does have, from what I think it has torpedoes on it. I can't quite tell. So it does have guns, but it's...
Those are cruises on... Yes. We can see the Vexor here of Celia dipping quite low into armor, but I don't think it's going to survive. But this is where you can see something like this arm really shine, where there's a single target getting a lot of pressure, and you can rarely spool up on it. But that being said, there might be...
The drone, they have various drones. They're keeping the reactive also from not spooling.
ECs. I was hoping to see if there's a couple of ECs on the Zarm of Sinref, but he looks like he's clear able to apply all these reps. The Vexor likely trying to get a bit closer to Sinref there to make sure you can get in more optimal for those medium reps, which have a much shorter range on the Zarm, but we still see a tiny bit of structure bleed as he's dipping quite low here. There's Draugr of Tom, though, taking a bit of damage. As we do see that Vexor shall go down. Forget which one it was. But yeah, Zarm, Scorpion, Abaddon versus a Trig Swarm right now. Who do you think has it?
I'm gonna have to give my money to the Trig. I don't see, unless this Abaddon can overheat his guns forever, I don't see anything happening. Especially through Zarm reps. They'd have to get gems on the Zarm.
Also, we've seen Bobby in the Hyena on the Wolves side pretty much having free reign. Normally, a Hyena does have a large bonus to webs, and they normally take advantage of that range, but he's orbiting the enemy Zarm of Sinref pretty much a 5k orbit, not really caring what's going to happen to himself right now. Pretty much no pressure has come his way, allowing everyone in his team to pretty much perfectly track. We see the first takeoff damage on him as a smart bomb fires off the Sinref.
Smart bombing Zarm, that's pretty smart to deal with ECM drones. So maybe there were ECM drones at the beginning and then it just got smart bombed.
Yeah, but it's not going to look good now, especially with the shack getting close to him. Triglavian ships having a bonus to newt usage as well, so it's going to be a bad time now for Sinrif being tackled and having newts on him while Triglavian ship is spooling on him. If I was him, probably stop the smart bomb, save what capacity you can, although, I mean, what can he do at this point?
Yeah, large newt. Says goodbye to your capacitor.
But we've seen the Zarm on the Wolf side, Karietsu having zero pressure as well, playing quite well on the range. People like to have a different variation for the Zarm. Some like dual prop, some like afterburner, some like just MWD. It's pretty much a Guardian, except it has a crapload more mids for that utility. So looks like Wolves taking quite advantage of that just to keep their Zarm out of the dunk zone.
Now, is there anything else that Want to Buy could have done here that you think that would have gotten them out of the situation they're in now?
It's hard to say. I'm not too sure. Always when we're behind this, we don't really have a behind the scenes look at them, so I'm not too sure what happened with the RNG on that Scorpion. Maybe it was a bad ECM choice. Unsure, as we do finally see that Zom Cineras go down. Um, I do just feel like Wolves brought the better ships, is what I feel. Like they got more bang for their buck at the end of the
Agreed.
day.
Now, that Scorpion, I don't think I ever saw it shooting. Now, it MJD'd right away. Is it possible that it's out of its cruise range?
It could be possible it's out of its lock range. Although I do see a missile going there then, but not too sure. ECM jams are going off. Maybe he forgot he had guns and was focusing only on the jams. Hard to say once again. We can only assume at this point.
Two very interesting comps, though.
Mm-hmm. Close range Abaddon as well. Pulses being one of the sexiest guns in my opinion. But actually, Ready into the shack taking a lot of damage. I can only assume the Zarm has been jammed out finally by that Scorpion now with all jams going on him as the shack is dipping rather low. But looks like he's getting a bit of armor back onto him now. Well, I'm not too sure if that's only the armor bots which are on him now, so maybe the Scorpion's luck is finally going to pay off here at the end, and this Abaddon is going to carry it through, because, I mean, if they can actually get rid of that shack, he might be in a decent position, although the Abaddon's still going to be struggling to hit the smaller ships after that the shack gets down.
As well as you just saw the shack just pull out of the Pulse's range of the Abaddon and go back in. So he can kind of dictate how he wants to take the fight as well.
Yeah, we see the Abaddon now making some Hail Mary shots onto the Vedmak of Samuel. So especially with these smaller teams, I think the Zarm also pays off a bit more, because one of the tactics against Zarm would be just be to switch targets. But with less people on grid, that means less damage, but also means you can micromanage your targets a lot more. There's a lot less to switch between. So while normally, let's say in a big fleet fight, doing quick switches would counter Zarm, here in the smaller team environment, Zarm's able to spool up to normal and beyond like normal logistic capacity quite quickly, even with those quick switches.
Along with that, you're also just lacking in the DPS field because you have to devote so many people to being support, like hyenas and kitsunes and things that can't shoot really, as you could to like the 10-man format. So it makes them quite difficult to deal with. I think they're going to be almost like the Gila, where you have to either bring them or ban them.
Mm-hmm. Well, we see Maladon here in the Abaddon finally dip in his structure, but we're still going to have to deal with this Scorpion at the top. Luckily, the match will be coming to an end soon, so we're not going to have to bore you all with watching a Scorpion MJD around the corners here.
Now, will we be doing reverse tie-dye and opens and feeders, or is it?
Okay. Yes, there will be reverse tie-dye.
That's always exciting. Watching matches go in reverse tie-dye, that's really where you have to lean in and really watch what you're doing, else you're going to be burning out guns or burning out mods.
So just 5 seconds, so they just didn't have enough to finish the Scorpion, but Wolves takes this match with quite a dominant performance. Any last comments here, Chair?
Nope.
All right, well then with that, we'll head back to the studio. And we're back with me once again. Ithaca, any comments on that last match?
I mean, It was an interesting match. I think the Wolves comp was just kind of better and more thought out. It's always risky going for Spilly Boys in any tournament format, especially when you're facing ECM. The Scorpion breaking the spool on Lashak or the Vedmax can just drop the damage down massively, and that can be enough to allow your team to survive, or conversely, if you're shooting, allow you not to kill someone. Both teams, of course, going with the Zarmzad. I'm not so sure that I think it's the right choice for the reasons you mentioned at the start, that it's a single target, and especially when you're facing a team that can be spread out like the double Vedmax and the Lashak. I think I would prefer like maybe an Aneros or something like that, a bit more mobile, bit more utility. But to be honest, I thought they did pretty well to last that long. I did notice that the Lashak spent a lot of time in the scaredy cat range and not getting too close to things like the Abaddon and stuff he was shooting at. So he wasn't doing as much damage as he could have been doing. The match probably could have been over quicker if he was in about it earlier on, but he chose to play it slightly safer, which in the long run obviously worked out for them.
Well, Wingnut now. I know it didn't maybe matter that much, but do you think the Hyena for Wolves was a good addition to their team?
It definitely helped that comp for sure. It helps them tackle things down, which is what those triangles need. I actually like the willing to buy cat is comp. Like it looks like utter chaos, but there is method to that madness. So you got the Scorpion at range, who is his one job is essentially to turn off something important, the linchpin of your comp. If they didn't have all the triangles, it would be the Zarm, right? You just jam the Zarm out. That no longer applies. You've now got 4 DPS ships plus a full nuke boat Vexor picking off whatever you want. Unfortunately, they met essentially the one thing that counters them: more DPS on more ships. You can't jam out 3 DPS ships and their logic at the same time with one ship. So I like their comp. The comp is really good. It looks like ridiculous shenanigans, and it is, but it's good ridiculous shenanigans. It just unfortunately they met, which is another just random side note. The counter for triangles is ECM. They just brought more triangles to counter the ECM.
Well,
I'm gonna disagree. Like, I don't really like the Cadius setup they had. Like, they're spending so many points on Asamas that really benefits on ships that can tank for long, so you can spool up. But they didn't bring links, and they like a main comp was cruisers with Tech 1 resist. So even if the Asamas did get to spool up a little bit, the Wolf team could just burn through these cruisers. They couldn't tank, and I think that was a main weakness of that setup. Like,
I do agree with the
we
Zarm.
saw
I'm not a fan of the Zarm.
the brawl. We saw the brawl in the middle, and they just got burned through.
so, but now, Mizer, what would you say would be more of a counter to Trig's ECM or tracking disruptors, considering we're in a tournament play?
I mean, there's a lot of other factors to consider, but I don't really think TDs are that effective when you can't script them. Like, these ships still have a decent amount of range, and if they can still have control, like with the Hyena being able to whip down things so they can get on top of them, then could be a lot easier to deal with the TDs. So I think like either you need more ACM or you just need to outbrawl them. Like, it's still possible to do. One thing like Ifika did mention also was the Leshak pilot being extremely defensive, and like they did win this match, but I think like against a stronger team setup, that would have been a really bad for Leshak to do, because it's a really expensive ship. I believe it's like 35 points, so it's a third of your budget being spent on a ship that was just sitting far in the back line and shooting stuff, like not utilizing those 4 utility highs it could have.
Well, and I also
Gone
wondering
in and
in.
then put in there who does heavy nukes and shut off stuff much quicker.
Okay. Just a last quick comment, Ithaca. Do you think the thorax on the cat ears side was there for to a points reduction, just to avoid that penalty on the premium, or was it actually in addition to the comp?
Probably points at that point. I do think that you could have dropped his arms out to something else and then changed that. Miz makes a good point with the Tech 1 resists being quite weak across the board.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it was not the optimal choice.
All right. Well, with that, we do have the next round of teams taking the field here of Rusty Hyenas versus Hangry Nubs. And with that, we'll hand it off to the arena to Wingnut and Ithaca.
Hey, welcome, boys. This is Wingnut, joined by the ever glorious Ithaca, and we have Hangry Nubs versus Rusty something. I forgot the name. Damn it. Rusty Hyenas. That's it.
Rusty Hyenas, that's the one. So it looks like the match countdown has been aborted because there is an entire ship missing right now from the field. Here he is, landing now. Better late than never. He has turned up.
All right, yeah, it got teleported by the sounds of it, so that's all good.
Oh, teleported to 0 as well. Ooh, that's awkward for him. Sucks to be you, Erlen 007. You are about to get a very unpleasant thing happen to you, I think. So
Luckily, he's
they
Nighthawk, so
Oh, that's
too
true. They've obviously watched the Alliance Open here and went, hey, Nighthawk Loki's, that works really well. Let's do that in the Anger games. So we'll see how well that goes. Going Nighthawk double Loki, Scalpel Kieran, which is interesting, Jackdaw and Sweeple. Unfortunately for the Scalpel and the Kieran, there's a lot of ships on the other side that can kill them very, very quickly.
Yeah, and Nighthawk double Loki, so instead of going for the double DPS, I went for the double support in that idea of a comp. Loki's up still DPS, but that's interesting. They're also going against, again, another Widow. So we're seeing a lot of ECM battleships today.
Yeah, so the Jackdaw just barreling in straight towards the Nighthawk, who's valiantly trying to escape, but he is going to get probably tackled very quickly. That's what happens if you get warped to 0. Jam attempts landing on the Nighthawk, and the Loki coming from Hangry Nub's side at the moment. No damage being exchanged by these two teams.
Any damage really going on at the moment? Swiple was looking like he was going to go try and interdict the Nighthawk, but he's decided that's probably not a good idea. And it's look at this Nighthawk just charging in. What's he going to go for? Vedmak, you think?
I don't know. He's turning around now. He's decided that he's gone the wrong direction, and he's turned back. Again, it looks like some damage now landing on that Nighthawk. He's having his scrot tickled gently, though. He's still in 90% shields. He's not concerned.
Yep, the other team said, go back the way you came. And Nighthawk was like, yep, sorry about that, sir. I am leaving.
Yeah,
so
now
full control for the blue team at the moment.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to what's going on with the Scalpel and the Kieran, because one of the problems that those ships have is they need to be very, very close to rep. So they're going to be right in the danger zone, channeling their inner Kenny Logans, getting in there to rep that Nighthawk, but that makes them incredibly vulnerable. Vedmax and a Draugr is just not something you want to be near in little frigates like that. But that being said, Laden in that Vedmak is getting hit pretty hard right now.
Yeah, and Sipples as well. Sipples are very well known for being absolute frigate munchers, so being in these little frigates is a terrifying ride. But at the moment, Laden, he went straight through shields, now he's into armor. Oneros will rep him as hard as he can. There's no ECM on the red team to help him out, so...
Yeah, the Jackdaw though on Rusty Hyenas is getting gigadunked right now. He's all the way through shields. He is down. So that is a bit of control and tackle off the field for them. Meanwhile, Vedmak, he's only gone 7 MS. He's been locked down pretty hard, but he is not dying, which is good for them.
Oh, that is brutal. Jackdaw gets removed immediately, and there's nothing. Like, doesn't really get to do anything in this match. He wasn't able to kill any small stuff. He's put much DPS out. The Vedmak is being slowly whittled down.
Sweeple down as well. So now that's almost all the tackle and control off of the Rusty Hyenas side. No Rusty Hyenas on field for them at all. Vedmak still looking pretty. He's doing well. He's just surviving.
That is brutal. That's not only is that tackle control and support being removed, there's also an extra like 500 DPS just deleted off the field. And at the moment, look at that Vedmak. He just started holding. They're going for the Widow now. They're actually going all in on the Widow.
Yeah, I mean they're doing damage to that Widow right now. He's into half armor already. He's probably shouting at Adrian in the Oneros that he'll suck his hangry nub for extra reps right now because he is dropping fast. Oh my god, they're going to have to save him. If that Widow goes down, that's a huge chunk of DPS off the field, and of course the control in ECM. And I'd like to know just how much that ECM has been helping them thus far. They can't really afford to lose this Widow.
At this point, him ECMing out the Nighthawk Lokis doesn't really mean anything. At this point, I think he should be jamming out the Scarons and Kipples with everything he has. Because at this point, if he jams out the Loki or the Nighthawk, all it does is make them shoot him more. And
exactly.
This is the one time Azam would be good, is to try and rep this one ship.
Oh, that Kieran though, that Kieran of Tilo is very, very, he's flirting with danger right now. He's just hanging on in low shield. His little buddy in the Scalpel's keeping him alive, but Crom and the Loki is going to go down. There he goes. He got just chunked through armor there as he hit that. They might save this Kieran, which is good, but can the damage of a single Loki finish off this Widow? It's really going to be important. They have to finish it off right now. They're going to lose the Kieran. The Kieran is down as well now.
Their one chance is right here. The Loki Nighthawk is they're just putting everything overheat the damage if they can. If this Widow survives, that's it. GG.
Yeah. Just GG. Overheat your belief as well. They're bleeding him through hull as well. Some reps are landing from Adrian in that Oneros, but Dujek just slowly hanging on. Loki, though, of Carl is about to get good chunked as well because he's about to run through his shield. If they can finish off this Widow before that Loki goes down, then they might stand a chance.
He's in a rep. He's going to survive at this point. That's it. That damage
there you
gone.
Go. Yeah, Digit's probably going to survive unless somebody really screws up. 4% structure. There's no way Nighthawk can finish that off. The reps are coming in now. He's going back up through armor. Adrian probably has heat damage coming out the wazoo, keeping that Widow alive. But by golly gosh, he did it. The Scalpel's going to go down next, and it's really just clean up, killing down that Nighthawk.
And it's going to be a clean sweep too. Like, bravo to both Adrian and Dijek there. Keeping that that Widow alive at 4% structure is just brutalized.
Yeah, that's a big play right there. It's big brain thinking, keeping your ships alive to allow them to do more damage for the rest of the match. This match is long over at this point for the red team, which is the Rusty Hyenas. Unfortunately, too much rust in this Hyena. It broke apart on contact with the enemy. 7 ships still alive for Hangry Nubs. They're very pleased about that. I bet you it's more than a nub now.
Oh, mate, that's a half chub at this point, mate. Come on.
I think it'd be with that Widow surviving. It's full chub at this point. That's how I'd be. I'd be parading that around the field with my 4% structure, and like check out how engorged I am right now with health and armor. There you go. The Nighthawk is going down. He can't survive any longer. He's given up the ghost. The nub is now absolute full mast. They've plunged it deep into the Rusty Hyenas, and they've come out with an absolute throbbing victory. And with that, we hand it back to the desk.
And welcome back. Dujek actually telling us he finished that match of 4%, which was actually 228 hull hit points that he had left. That was quite a close finish there with that race they were having between the Kieran, the Loki, and the Widow. Missouri, got any comments on that finish we saw there?
Yeah, I do actually have some comments about the piloting. Both teams did make some pretty critical mistakes. Like, initially we saw the Nighthawk burning, and that was like, okay, because it's the tankiest ship on the team, and he did turn around once he was taking damage, so it was not that much of an issue. But he did maybe make the Hangry Nubs team a little bit too focused on him, because I saw the Jackdaw, which is like the slowest of the Tech 3 destroyers, just casually burn in and tackle that Vedmak. And they could have blapped that Jackdaw before it got tackled on that Vedmak, but they didn't touch him until he got tackled on the Vedmak. And once he did get on the Vedmak, they switched to him and he exploded right away. Once again, we saw the weakness of the Logi frigates. But at this point, they had already held down the Vedmak long enough for the Lokis and the Nighthawk to get on top of the Vedmak and start burning him down. And
speaking of Vedmax, then, Ithaca, like, why are we seeing teams take the double Vedmak? I think this like the third or fourth team we've seen take a double Vedmak.
It's the spooling. There's quite a lot of damage you can get out of them. They're quite versatile. They've got utility, but one, they're very good at applying damage to big targets, and they're very good at applying damage to small targets. So they're very versatile. They fit into a lot of comps. With 7-on-7, you don't necessarily know if they're going to bring a couple of battleships or if they're going to go with a lot more small cruiser size things. So being able to apply to almost anything across the board, that's just going to be it's strong. It's super strong. And of course, we talked about the spooling, but if you don't know, the way that these ships work is they start doing damage, and every time the single gun cycles, it gets more damagey and more damagey and more damagey until it is absolutely pounding into the other ships. And you can, if you heat as well and get right in close about them, you can do a lot of damage.
Chair, we saw them double up on a Loki for that points premium. What would be the reason they preferred to take 2 Lokis instead of splitting it up between a Loki and a Tengu or something else?
So with that comp, they're trying to get on top of things and use their hams and everything. So they need some kind of control and ability to like slow things down, and that comes with the 2 Lokis because they're running the web subsystem. So it's basically their control and their damage for that comp.
Quite a potent ship, especially we've seen in previous 80s and Anger games, the ham rushes being quite a threat, especially mixed in there with the Nighthawk. So, Wingnut, what did you think of the tight race you had with the Friglogy there as well, the Kieran dipping low?
Kieran's Scalpel on that comp was a hard ride to have. Like, it's just I don't know. I didn't like the frigates there, but I guess what could they do? That was close that had any right to be honest.
I mean, I'm gonna interrupt a bit here on that. I don't know why they were shooting the Kirin when they're having like DPS race on the damage ships, because at this point they're already on damage ships are already on top of the Widow, so there's no point in trying to jam them. Could just put all the Widow's jammers on those two Logifreaks and then concentrate all the damage on the Lokis.
Because that is one thing that the Friglogy suffers from, especially if you might not have the mids for a ECCM, all of those for a SIG amp, is while they are a T2 ship, they do still suffer from being a frigate and not having the slots to really counter or push up their signal strength. So even when it's non-racial jams, you have a decent chance of still off-jamming them. Any other comments you have? Interesting things there, Wingnut?
I'm not a fan of the Nighthawk double Loki setup there. It's just so much for so little. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest.
It feels a bit like a callback, like Throwback Thursday to like previous metas we've seen. To me, Ithka, do you like that ham rush still?
I did in the Alliance Open when it was very successful, but we've had Alliance Tournament 17 since then. We've also now into Anger games, so it's a few tournaments past the meta. It still has value. It does a lot of damage and it has decent projection. But in this particular format, especially with the extra points penalty for taking a second Loki, I'm not convinced.
All right, we do see the
chat. This is the
teams.
best answer.
So the teams for our next match are taking the grid right now. Mazir, if you have the bands in front of you, can you quickly go over them for Fancy Pants and Noir Dot?
Yeah. So Fancy Pants like banning a Scorpion, Sarmast, and Baggage. So like banning out the typical ECM battleship and then the Baggage, which I haven't seen before in this setup, and the Sarmast.
Actually, we don't have any bans for this FC, actually. But we will head over to the arena now with Mazir and myself to comment on this game.
Yeah, and welcome back to the arena. I believe this is match number 5 of the Opens today, and we're seeing Noir in blue versus Fancy Pants with the red pants on. So, Surak, can you tell me about these setups?
All right. Well, in red there, we have Fancy Pants. We see a double Sleipnir Loki, so it looks probably a close range setup. Osprey Navy, Worms, so taking advantage of that drones once again. Harpy and Caracal. Caracal always been a good, cheap, light DPS ship, but just being a bit skinny on the tank side. And then we see Noir Dot bringing the double dummies, Oni, Ponti, Svipple, Heretic, and Vexer as the countdown is starting.
Yeah, I've seen both teams warped in at the narrow angles, so depending on which beacon they pick at the beginning. This does put them really close to each other, even though they have been warping in at 30 or further away. Do have the Sleipnirs and the Loki at 20, so they're a little bit closer, but still, both teams are closer than expected, maybe, and the match just have begun.
So obviously we can assume that from the warp lanes, but these Sleipnirs are actually still running ACs. We do see Noir Dot backing off immediately, the Sleipnirs posing quite a threat, but oddly enough, the Sleipnirs choosing to also not chase right now. Looks like they're heading towards the MJU.
Yeah, both teams are pulling back. One thing to mention about the Fancy Pants team is they don't have any Logi on that setup. This is a nearest Navy issue, so rather than doing repairs, it's just shooting out more missiles. And you do see some damage applied on that Heretic, but it's just a few drones, like not that much.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mazir, but are sentry drones, they're allowed still, correct?
Yeah, I believe they are, but I think they're limited to Tech 1, and they are not that impressive in this format. We're doing see some blue drones starting to burn across the arena. Okay, I need to apply some damage Like they're up against a team without any logi, so any damage is going to be hard to recover on the red team.
So we do see Fancy Pants getting themselves around the arena. They're actually putting out their drones to counter these enemy drones from Noir coming in. Actually, it seems like a drone war with Fancy Pants able to screen off the blue drones coming their way. But both teams are now setting up on MJU beacons. So I'm not sure if we're going to have a game of chicken here on who's going to jump first.
I mean, we're definitely having a game of drones. Looks like at least one of the dummy is far away from a beacon yet. So if his team does jump, then they'll be a little bit spread out, but they could maybe do a pincher maneuver. He's burning in while the other dummy is trying to microdrum drive behind it. But on the other hand, the entire Fancyman team is on the beacon, so they can just all jump away.
Well, as like you said, they're still kind of split up. So now would be Fancy Pants' best opportunity to go in and pick a straggler. Because right now, their Sleipnirs aren't doing anything. That's wasted points. Those ACs aren't going to touch anything at this range. And I think they even have a small drone bay.
Looks like that the Onira is actually in a good jumping range. Like these beacons are 100 of each other. So if they can jump to the beacon that's right next to the Oniras, they can like get a jump on him and finish him off. They could be a really good move. And now they have to strike fast.
Yeah, it's like you said, Oneros actually already drifted off the beacon, slow burning off, couldn't afford to linger around there forever, but their window for a good jump here is closing, but now these Sleipnirs seem to also be slowly drifting off. I'm not too sure what Fancy Pants is thinking, just slowly being pounded on that Ponty right now, on the enemy Ponty.
Yeah, I mean, it's just drones going back and forth. They are all just going to lose their drones to this kind of stuff in there. And it's just like, come on, guys, do something.
Yeah, especially with a rush setup with the Sleipnir Loki. Like, they still, while it isn't optimal, they still have a really good shot of picking off that Oneros at the back there, but they're not committing to anything right now. Just, I'm not sure if they're waiting for Noir to make a sort of mistake.
I mean, the mistake is already there. The Oneros is sitting there ready to be picked off. Like, there's nothing between the Oneros and the, like if they jump behind, they're going to have a direct access to the Oneros. Like, looking at the ranges, they'll be like around 30, maybe 20 off the Oneros. Like, they have the opportunity now. They need to do something. Otherwise, they're just going to run out of time and be caught with their pants down.
We finally do see Fancy Pants giving up on an MGU, now slow boating as a team towards the arena center, not activating the prop mode, still just slow boating. Not too sure if they're trying to bait someone in to overextend, but like you say, it's still just, like they have no logi, now their worm's taking damage.
Yeah, in the meantime, the Noir team, like, they can just like try and pick off one target or sacrifice some drones to either get the Navy Osprey or the Caracal, like the soft cruisers. Even if they just can get one kill, they're going to be leading in points. It looks like they're going to get a worm instead. So with that worm down, the Fancy Pants have to do something now. They have 5.5 minutes and need to do something, or they're just going to lose with the pants down.
Well, I'm hoping it's going to put a fire in their pants, but they still seem content of just slow burning. They're finally turning towards enemy team activating the prop mods. Yep, finally getting into gear here, but I think it's too late already. Only going to be trading for a Ponty at this point.
Yeah, and the Ponty is burning back. They can screen with the dummies. It looks like he's taking actually a lot of damage, but he's getting out of range now, so it's going to be too late, and these cruisers might be hitting reload and rapid light missiles. So they're just like wasting so many opportunities right now.
And I see them diverting once more to the center. I'm wondering, did they think they had RDs fit and they were going to play a range comp and forgot it was ACs fitted? Because this style you'd expect of an RD comp, but these ACs are going completely to waste right now.
I'm not sure if they're just completely spooked of these dummies or what they're doing. You have to keep in mind that these Sleipnirs don't need any capacitor for their guns, so even if they do get muted, it's still better than doing absolutely nothing.
I'm not sure if their plan here was hoping that Noir would send more drones in and they'd be able to defang them. Even saying that, I don't think they really had enough tackle to secure the wave of drones. These being normal drone ships, not Garista's ones, meaning the numbers of quantity of drones coming your way is a lot more and spread out. So you can't, any single drone you kill is much more easily replaced versus something like a Garista where one kill counts for a lot more. So defanging, I think, was never an option either.
Yeah, like they are wasting away this match. they have to do something soon. They're bringing a rush comp without Logi, and they are not rushing.
I'm almost frustrated for if I was a Stepner on no Fancy Pants right now, I'd be a bit frustrated. I can just heat my guns and go in. Also, looking at the Osprey Navy, that's rapid lights. That's some more in-your-face damage. Although he does have the range to poke, it really does go in tandem with that close-range burst that they have. But they're still not finding a way to apply it.
It looks like there's some damage on this Sweeple, but it is an armor Sweeple, so even though it's losing some shield, it doesn't matter much. But if they can go in, pick off that Sweeple, and get out, they could still win the match. But he's catching reps now, and he's burning away, and is still just casually sitting there. Did they even remember to fit prop mods on their ships?
I mean, no, Neris can easily cover him. He just goes into defensive mode, and like we see, maybe a bit of poke, but they're not applying enough long range damage. Of only that Caracal and the Osprey applying a bit of lights. You know, there's a lot of wasted points on Fancy side right now.
Come on, guys! Like, I'm begging you to burn in. You're already losing. You can't lose more than you're already doing. This is just embarrassing. Like, come on, get your.
Looks like that he might be making a play with the Loki of Eilish leading the charge, although it looks like he might be having a tangent again, and the rest of the team isn't following quite yet.
Yeah, they're getting some damage on that Oneirus. Like, one weakness of having a drone comp is that you can't have the repair drones. So this Oneirus could be a little bit exposed, but he might have some self-rep to sustain. And at this point, like, we have finally seen the Loki going in. Still not seeing any weapifiers on the Oneirus, so he can just burn away. And seeing damage on the Pontifex, finally something happening, but as 2 minutes remain, can it even kill something in time?
I don't know. I hope they can finally realize that they had the damage all along while they're cruising in here. Still actually might be able to pull something out of this, because those Stepners do have local tank, even though there's not a lot of logistics, but the Loki will be going down. Able to put some pressure on the nearest, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to follow through with the time they have left.
There's nothing to repair that Loki. He's going down, the HP is losing, he's never going to come back. That Pontifex is still sustaining. This is just really embarrassing for the Fancy Pants team. We're seeing the Osprey trying to burn around, and they're trying to go for that Oneirus, but they just don't have a time to make this play. They need to kill something. They lost a Loki. Like, what the F are they going to do?
The Harpy has tackled that Oneirus at the back, but those Stepners are struggling to break through. Only it looks like they're finally breaking through now, trying to get on top of that Oneirus, but I think it's way too much, way too little, way too late.
Yeah, finally they're getting on top of that Oneirus. Like, just going to make them do quick math. Like, even if they get them down, still not enough points. Just been wasting too much. 1 minute remaining. Like, they need to kill fast, but they're like the Harpy is going down.
I mean, hopefully they can secure some more kills, but now it's gonna just be too much trading, way too late. They had the perfect opportunity to jump at that Oneirus earlier instead of getting screened like this.
The Pontifex isn't tackled, so he can just burn away as quickly as he can. He might still be going down, but at the same time, just looking at the points right now, it might actually be enough to swing it in Fancy Pants' favor. The thingy doesn't show the correct numbers, but at the same time, they can be beating off some stuff. The decks are going down.
And we're finished here with time being called. We'll just have to confirm what happened with points there. Due to this being our first run on Thunderdomes, the points might not be accurate, but we'll quickly get back to which team has actually won here. But still, we'll just hand it back to the studio for now as we comment on what the heck just happened. And we're back. As you can see, my co-commentators are asleep. So, Wingnut, do you have any comments?
What happened? What?
And nap time's over. It's time to commentate again.
Oh, right. Let's see, let me just find my notepad of buzzwords. No, they just took way too fucking long to do things, mate.
Like, were you frustrated as well?
So here's the thing: you can delay with a rush comp. You can wait till the right moment to just send it. But by the time the worm died, mate, you can't spend another 5 minutes just stroking your egos and waiting for your chance. You got to do it. And they saw that the other team was not going to make a mistake. They were waiting for, say, the Dominixes to separate or a Vexer to chase them. They were waiting for something. After 5 minutes, you have to admit to yourself, that's not going to happen, mate. You got to do something. And it's the indecisiveness that makes me want to scream. And then I just fell asleep because I didn't want to watch
I
this
mean,
anymore.
Ithaca, I don't know about you, but like it looked like Fancy had the perfect opportunity. They were all clustered on that MJU at 100 kilometers, and they just never did it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just small ball thinking or if they had more logic behind it, but yeah, I mean, by all technical standards, that was indeed a match. It did exist. It did happen. We don't actually know who won because it was so incredibly uneventful. I mean, there was like a solid 5 minutes before our ship even died. I'm being told that Noir won. Officially, Noir has won. Congratulations. No, you know what? No, congratulations. You barely deserved that one. But yeah, I just don't understand. As Wingnut mentioned, you can have a rush comp. You can kind of like kite around and like wait for the opportunity, but you got to just lick the stamp and send it at some point. You can't be hanging around in the backfield like that for the whole match and just not do it. I mean, maybe they know more than I do. That's probably quite likely.
It looks
but...
like Suffercell just said that Noak won because the Fancy Pants harp he died. So at least he got some redemption, like from this disappointment, but still.
Do you know what? I was expecting that one to go to reverse tie-dye and it just be a 15-minute high-intensity steering contest between two teams going at twice as fast. Everywhere. Like, how quick can you steer?
But if you're here, it's like, do you think that was Fancy Pants' game to lose? Because I know we're a bit angry at the stalemate. Well, not angry, but a bit flabbergasted, I'd say. But I don't think we can really fault Noir for what they did.
I think it was Fancy Pants' to win. All they had to do was they were in the correct position, and then they stopped. And I don't know if they DC'd. I don't know if their brain just kind of fell off or whatever happened. All they had to do was MJD behind them and go get their Neros. They're faster than the Adamis. They can outmaneuver them by miles. Sure, they can shoot some drones for a while, and that's fine too, but they had all the time in the world to make any decision, but they decided to make none.
We saw like how fast the Oneros melted once they're on top of it, and they had this perfect opportunity to micro jump drive right on top of it, or at least within 20 or maybe 30 kilometers of it, and they didn't do it. Like, I once was in Camel, we had a match where our FC went and get some pizza from the door. The pizza man ringed on the doorbell and he went to get the pizza and we still won. But it's like, did the entire team suddenly have a pizza arrive or what? It's just looked like they were AFK or something.
I mean, let this be a lesson to all teams. Even if you lose, at least do something, and then we don't say mean things about you.
I can already tell you what happened there as well. I know exactly what happened. It was just indecisiveness. Like, do we go? Do we go? Do we go? Do we?
You could actually see that there. Like, I think they had the good call there for the MGU, but then they started slow boating towards the center arena. Then they're like, okay, let's approach, and then like, no, wait, let's go back to the center. So it's hard to say. Obviously, like we're not in there on the team's comms. But like Ithaca says, just do something, and we won't be mean.
Do you know?
Any plan
this rarely happens, but Twitch chat has actually said something insightful. Someone made a point that if they'd rushed in 10 seconds earlier, they would have won by a point by killing that Vexer, because that Vexer died just after the match ended. So if they just committed a little bit earlier than 8 minutes into the match, then maybe they would have pulled off the dub.
Say it.
Well,
right, don't say it. No, please. No, I can't take
Twitch
that.
Chat. But we'll stop beating a dead horse there now as we get ready for our next game here of Turbo Fetal Glory versus Cartel. And with that, we'll be having Ithaca and Wingnut take the arena for us.
Good afternoon, it is me, Ithaca Hawk, back again with Wingnut alongside me for Turbo Feeder Glory versus Shadow Cartel. Let me quickly run through the Turbo Feed or Glory team today and find out, will it be Turbo Feeding or will it be Glory? Well, they have an Abaddon, a Guardian, 2 Oracles, 2 Hyenas, and an Arbitrator. Interesting choice. Those Oracles ready to just shit out DPS at a moment's notice, but can they survive? Wingnut, what have Shadow Cartel brought?
Shadow Cartel have brought an eclectic bunch of ships of different shapes and sizes. They brought a twin Hick setup with Broadsword Onyx. They've got Nighthawk and Sleipnir for all the boosts in the world, plus great DPS. And then they brought Scalpel Kirin, and then a Condor, because I guess, welcome to Condor country.
Yeah, they are getting ready to rush in with those 2 Hicks right now. They walked in at 0, big ball move, ready to go straight in, and that's exactly what they're doing. The Oracles are going to be shooting very high DPS very quickly into that Shadow Cartel team. But the Hyena on the Turbo Feeder Glory right now is currently turbo feeding as he's about to die in literally seconds.
Killing off one of these two hyenas, which is crazy. You see one of these and it's usually enough, but they brought 2, so maybe they're playing this eventuality when they get one gets nuked, which, I was about to say he's about to, but, never mind.
They need to just basically not be tackled, that whole comp. I mean, the Abaddon can probably survive being tackled. It's an absolute brick. But those 2 Oracles, if they get tackled, they're stuffed, so they need those webs to hold down things approaching from them. There's damage being shot into that Nighthawk. Nighthawk's, of course, very tanky, but with only a Scalpel and a Kirin to try and rep them, I feel like they will eventually lose the DPS race unless they kill these Oracles. However, that's what they're doing, and that's a good strategy.
Exactly. On the other side, the Oracles need to kill things fast. Like, that's their only job. It's the only thing they can do. They have no tank and no utility. Kill things, and they're not.
This comp is based around the fact that you need to just absolutely yeet people into the Shadow Realm as fast as humanly possible. If that's not happened in the first sort of minute of the match, you're probably going to lose. And that's kind of what's happening here. They've lost a Hyena, they've lost an Oracle, which is a huge chunk of their DPS already. The Abaddon's getting sort of, gently tickled right now, but that other Oracle of Leicester claims to be of the AG pilots. I'm assuming that means Anger Games, but he is going to be of the AG pods very soon, as he's going to go down as well.
Nighthawk is still holding very well. And this Broadsword Onyx they're really good tackle ships, because that, 20-kilometer scram range is actually disgusting.
Yeah, this match is over right now. This is full turbo feed. There's almost nothing that they can do right now. A single Abaddon can do a lot of damage, but there's no way in hell it can break the tank of that Nighthawk at this point. The best they can hope for is to get lucky, transversal match someone in pop, so it's not a complete turbo feed, but they are setting themselves up for an absolute clean sweep, dominating loss right now, as that second Hyena is about to get gigadunked as well.
In situations like this is why I don't particularly like the Oracles, to be honest. Like, we've seen them tried. I've even tried the team that I'm in, and I don't like them.
Yeah, they are very, very risky. You have to be very good pilots to be able to use them correctly, and you have to hope that you don't come across a team like this who can outpace you, get on top of you. I mean, that Condor probably was able to get on top of them. Broadsword and Onyx probably able to get on top of them. The thing is, though, Turbo Feeder Glory has brought this comp before, and this exact same thing happened. So I wonder if Shadow Cartel kind of banned them into it and brought this comp specifically to try and counter it, because it's quite a hard counter with those 2 Hicks.
And that Condor, mate. That Condor is doing work. Condor just tackled the Guardian, by the way. That Condor is not just for show, he's actually doing things.
He's not only existing for points, he is existing to be a useful member of the community. The Arbitrator about to go down as well, and it's just a Guardian and an Abaddon left. The Abaddon can survive quite a long time against even this incoming DPS with a Guardian repping him. It just depends if Turbo Feed want to try and prolong this match as long as possible, but this match, we're only 4 minutes in, and already, take note, previous teams, this is how you do a match. You shoot the other team, and then they die, and then you win the match, as opposed to running around like a bunch of cowards.
Really cunning strategy indeed. And the fun thing as well, like, the Abaddon obviously has a reactive armor hardener, I'm pretty sure, but it actually doesn't really matter because there's like one of everything shooting. Nighthawk, Sleipnir, Broadsword, Onyx, like, you've got literally one of everything just shooting.
Yeah.
But they're going for the Guardian first, which is fair enough. Why bother going through the Abaddon first?
Exactly, because the Guardian can just rep the Abaddon, prolong the inevitable. He's also got rep bots on the Abaddon. Jezza McWaffle there. I don't know if he's the captain, but he is going to be the last to die in that Abaddon. If you ever shoot an Abaddon first, by the way, that's the wrong move. I'll tell you that right now.
Free experience, right?
Yeah, just for free. It's a free bit of tournament wisdom there. Don't shoot the Abaddon first. Man, not really much more to say. Can they have done anything different? I really don't think so. Other than just try overheat and just plow through something, but there's no soft targets on that Shadow Cartel team that they can hit.
The only answer you can really have is run faster, and it can't really do that either. That's not really an answer.
Yeah, I think they needed the Hyena webs to just stop that Condor, the Kieran, and the Scalpel, and they needed the Oracles to just do a little bit of manual piloting, transversal match, and try and nuke them from orbit. And then maybe then they have a chance of breaking the Nighthawk once the support's off the field, but I don't think going for the Nighthawk at the start was the wise move.
Yeah, it's probably the only answer they really had. Like, what can we all apply to shoot Nighthawk? Okay, let's shoot that. But it's like, there was really like a really no good option for them there. Like, there's nothing they can really do. Nothing they can kill fast enough. Everything there is pretty tanky.
It's a pretty hard comp to beat, to be honest, in that current setup for Shadow Cartel there. Especially just against a damage comp like that. They have a lot of control, a lot of tank, a lot of range, decent DPS. You know, well done. So Shadow Cartel, solid victory there as the Abaddon Jezimite Waffle explodes yet again. Maybe don't bring this comp again, guys. But yeah, let's hand it back to the studio.
And we're back. Luckily, I'm so glad to see we're seeing a match of action again. Although the Hyena on Turbo's side did actually end up dying quite quickly, maybe not as fast as we all expected. Mizir, do you know what kind of tactics would have gone in on the Guardian side of Terror, who did quite a good job there, and even the Hyena side to just prolong such a dunk?
I mean, I think like the Turbo Fleet team could have played this completely different. Actually, maybe I had a chance. Like, but as the commentators did mention, like the Shadow Cartel team did have like 4 really tanky ships, like the command ships and the Higgs. They have a lot of resist. They have decent tank. Even if the Nighthawk does have a EM weakness, it has a lot of resist still. So it was hard for them to break through the damage, break through the tank of that ship before they started feeding stuff. But they should have been better to utilize these hyenas. Like they are armor fit, so you could like fit 2 webs and a painter on top of their prop mob, obviously. And they could have used these painters to paint one of the frigates and then go for that transversal match. If you're going to bring oracles, you better then teach your pilot to transversal match. Otherwise, you're just turbo feeding or going for the Edge of Glory. If they could have blabbed one of the lucky frigates or the Condor, they could have had a better chance. Like try and remove some of these control they had, some of the sustain they had, and then see if they can remove that. Maybe lose one of the oracles in the process, but then come on top of the brawl afterwards. But they focus too much on that Nighthawk, and that cuts the match because in this format, such setup like the load conflict and brag full armor balls deep setup, they just don't have enough damage to burst through a tanky ship like that. They needed more damage.
Well, Ithaca, I know you were having some comments on the comp that we were bringing now. Do you think the comp in general is bad? Is the double Hyena overkill?
In general, is it bad? I mean, I wouldn't call it great, to be fair. It can work against the right set of teams, but it's one of those comps that you kind of need the other team to do something very specific for your comp to work. It's not very versatile. What you need is for them to have an easy, soft target that you can just skadunk as fast as possible and then start to steamroll. If they don't have that, or if they manage to get that target out of your range and then they get in about you, then that's where you start to struggle.
I'll just interrupt here and say, I think they could have replaced the Arbitrator with a Command Destroyer. I'm not sure if there are not enough points to get a Draugr, but at least like a Pontifex or Mages to get the longer range on these hyenas and to get like, some armor resist or some more speed or something like that. That could have added better than these tracking disruption.
So yeah, one thing about that actually, just as you mentioned, bringing links, those oracles are so slow that the Nighthawk with skirmish links that the what's it called, the Sleipnir will definitely have, is actually faster than the Oracle. a Nighthawk is faster than you and you're trying to kite. Sure, you've got 2 hyenas, but if they die, or if they've got too many targets, you're screwed.
Yeah,
And
sometimes I see these comps and I think that people have fallen foul of the large numbers in Pytha. It's sometimes why you see people fielding Maelstroms. They see, oh man, look at that huge number there for the alpha. We'll just blow shit up, and then they turn up on field, and then all that DPS just doesn't really apply, or you die first. The strange thing is this is opens, so we expect to see people bring odd comps, but they did bring a very similar comp last week or last opens, I think, and it didn't. I mean, I think they won 1 match, they lost 2, so I would expect them to maybe have a bit more variation to test.
Well, we do have the next round of teams taking the field here. Quickly, before we go over, Chair, I'm going to give you a question, and I only want one answer. Do you take more guidance disruptors or more tracking disruptors on Arbitrator?
Tracking.
Okay, cool. And with that, we'll throw it over to Chair and Ms. Air for our next game with Vetrix versus Jobco Mining Division.
How's it going? How's it going, everyone? We have Delptrix versus Jovco going on, and looks like we have a very interesting comp on each side. We have Ishtar, Vexer, so and Eos looks like a drone comp, and then Miz, will you tell me about the other comp, please?
Yeah, and the Delph team, like having 2 Typhoon fleet issues. Like these are the glorious trash cans from the tournaments. Like they have been a really versatile ship, and on top of that, they're having a Draugr, a Rodiva, Hyena, Vengeance, and a Mauler. So they're having a really strong tackle wing at this. And the match have begun. Already seeing like the blue Punisher of Lucas Van End. He doesn't wait for the end. He's going right in, burning around these Typhoons.
I have a feeling that Punisher's not going to be long for the world, because it looks to me like these 2 Typhoons are rapid heavy fit, and it's going to be almost like a Kingslayer sort of situation. So if that Punisher doesn't get reps fast, he's going to be going down. But we see the drones from Noir.
Yeah, we've seen the Samas taking damage, so it definitely looks like a Kingslayer setup. One strong thing about Samas is that it can fit the strongest tank of any Logi, and it can dual prop, so he can mitigate a lot of damage. The Punisher does go down, but they are already getting a lot of damage on that Rodiva. So they're going for the Logi trade, and who do you think would benefit the most from that?
I think the Kingslayer is honestly fine without the Logi, because they're just on a timer. As if they're not killing things within 1 clip or 2 clips, they're pretty much done. So if they're without their Logi, I think they're fine, as long as they're trading.
And we're seeing like the damage on the Samas is slowing down a little bit, so he might actually survive the clip, and that can be a really bad thing for the Kingslayer setup on the Goon team. Like we should probably talk about Kingslayer, what it is later on, but it looks like that Rodiva is going down, and even if they had the trade, like it would be less points lost on the Delph team. But at this point, it looks like the Samas is going to go down. Samas is going to survive while the Rodiva is going down. So that's a Punisher for a Logi. That's really good.
And the Typhoon should be clipping pretty soon, so you'll see the damage dropping off from the Goon team.
Yeah, seeing the Draugr is going in for that Hyena, trying to get the kill. Like if they can get it, they can remove a lot of control on the setup. But I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. Even without the Hyena, the blue team just have much more flexibility with the drone DPS and the ships being able to move around. And the red team are already losing their Hyena as well. So now they're getting the Hyena trade.
I really hope Wingnut's ready for Radicos to just tell him about drone comps and how good drone comps are. You can really see how they're shining right now, how it's just that steady, consistent DPS from everywhere in the field, and just leaving the mid slots open for a lot of utility on the Ishtars and the Eos.
They pretty much just Wingnut, he's a notorious Psalmist hater, and I think like this match is a really strong example of the Psalmist shining at it. He's tackled now and he is going down, but I think he survived long enough to make this Logi trade worth it.
And they're chewing through the Typhoon right now, which I'm pretty sure is going to go down.
They're still shooting the Hyena. They need to remove some DPS now. Like about to lose one of the fleet Typhoons, while still having like 2 Ishtar and Eros alive and a Vexor. So there's like 4 DPS ships versus 2 proper DPS ships. The Vexor is going down, like he's already in half armor, so there's some DPS going down, but at the same time the Fleet Typhoon of Jackie or Dalis is in a low structure. This is not what you want to be in when this is like almost half of your DPS.
As well as the last two, the Ishtars and the Eos are going to be very, very hard to chew through. Did someone just boundary?
Yeah, the second Typhoon did just boundary. I'm not sure if Asura just did it to commit Sudoku or he fucked up. We might hear from him later. So yeah, at this point, like, Brave are going to have it, or unless they naturally boundary all 3 of their ships. Like they're cleaning up the Vengeance, they're cleaning up the Draugr. You can't really do much. And then there's the Mauler, not really known to doing much DPS. I can check. Does he have guns or is just a nuding Mauler?
They're usually quite tanky, and that's about it. It's like a flying brick almost.
He does have guns, but
those are small autocannons. Like small autocannons to me. So I don't know how much DPS he's going to be putting out.
The attack bar is like so tiny you can barely see it. Like Rentacker is like trying his best, like throwing pebbles against these ships, and he's getting noted out, and he's going to get shot by these drones. There's not really much he can do.
So, this match is winding down a little bit. Let's go back to the start. So, Kingslayer, which is usually rapid heavy or some sort of variety where they're trying to snipe one very key ship. And it seems like they almost failed to snipe the Zarmazat. Do you any insight on why that might have happened?
I mean, they did fail to snipe it. They need to get that key ship down in the first clip, otherwise they are in a massive disadvantage. And the Zarmast is the tankiest cruiser, so they need to ban that one if they want to do Kingslayer setup. They're going all in for the execution, then they need to actually make sure that they can execute something, and they just didn't. They had the win condition being too tanky for them to deal with.
No, I'm pretty sure they were shooting the Punisher. Do you think that was not the play, or should they have just ignored it?
I don't think the Typhoons were shooting the Punisher. I think like the small support wing did the right thing and put pressure on the Pontifex. So that was definitely the right thing to do. But yes, they just didn't have the amount of damage to deal with this Zarmast. And as the Mauler explodes, we're going to send it back to the studio, and then we can nerd a little bit more about Jaime Lannister.
And welcome back. We see actually 2 style of comps they're playing off that Mazir mentioned earlier. A drone comp and what we call a Kingslayer comp. Ithaca, can you comment on what actually a Kingslayer is?
I think there's better people to answer that question. Wingnut, you're better at these ones than me. You take that one.
What? It's essentially just killing off the important part of the comp. It can generally there's a battleships or logi for cruisers, but it's just you kill the king, the one thing that's holding everything together, the linchpins of the comp. They don't tend to be small ships, so that's why Kingslayer is killing the big stuff.
So you normally see those on the rapid comps. Bargas also kind of a big show of that, but the classic was almost the armor rapids, putting all that front loader damage onto the target of your choice to just eliminate it right there. Chair, we saw a couple of things happening there for the boundary. I saw the Hina of Disparity playing games, getting quite close there at 123 kilometers, and eventually a Typhoon disappearing. Can you explain to everyone what is actually happening with the arena?
So 125 km, there's the boundary of the arena. It's in a circle around it. And then as soon as you cross even 0.1 kilometer, your ship is gone and you're out of the match. Now, the record for this, I believe, is 227 kilometers. And I want it to be known, I am the record holder for 226, which is the second place.
But how would someone get that far if the moment they get it enter the boundary, they explode?
there's MJD units on the outside of the arena. So if you're going MWDing and then you press the MJU, you can time it so you MJU right as you're exiting the arena.
Well, yeah, so we finally actually saw one of our boundary violations happening there. Actually, folks at home managed to witness earlier violation of a player not being ready, being teleported to 0, and now we've seen a boundary delete. Mazir, what was your comment on just like the comp matches there? Like, was it actually one's team? Was one team going to take it from the start?
I mean, we did, Chia and I, we did discuss a bit during the match. It is a Kingslayer comp, and when you're having a comp like that, you need to identify which is your win condition. And in this case, it is getting rid of the Logi. But the issue is that the Samas is just too tanky. Like, you can fit a really strong tank and still like having a dual prop on it. So you can just slow boat around with the.
Would you say the problem was this armor's too tanky, or that armor rapids just don't have enough damage?
Well, it's they could have. I think they could have taken out the Oneros or Guardian. So if they had banned the Samas, they could have won this one. So it is one important lesson they should learn for next time. Ban out the Samas if you want to do a Kingslayer like this, or find a way to squeeze in more damage. But I think like the banning of the Samas is more reliable. Just make sure that you don't only ban the Samas when you're going to bring that setup, because then you're going to be too predictable.
Ithka, are you a fan of drone comps at all?
Yes, if they work. The thing about drone comps is they have weaknesses. Like, they have a lot of strengths. One of the good strengths that you have is they're quite tricky to jam out, because if you jam the main ship, then the drones keep going, and they can be very tricky to nail down. You can just starbursts, put all your ships on the micro jump units, and then whenever anyone gets close to you, just ping away. The disadvantage is the time it takes you to apply your damage. Once a ship dies, like if you're facing a drone comp, for example, and you split up, or you get away from whoever the primary is, then that ship dies. The drones then might have to travel 50, 60, 70 kilometers to get to the next target. And that can be against a smart team who are positioning themselves around. Like, if you're being primary, to just drag those drones as far away as possible, and that could buy your team 15, 20 seconds of no damage being applied when you go down, which is huge. So I find that drone comps, if you go up against a very competent team, you can be played, basically.
I think like the irony in this situation is that the drone comps can be a little bit weak to Kingslayer comps, because you like the repair drones. Like, you have to use your drones for damage, so you can't put repair drones on your Loki, so your Loki is naturally going to be weaker. In this situation, the Samas was just able to tank long enough still.
Yeah, that's true. Wingnut, I know when it comes to missiles, there's a lot of history behind Bargas and Nighthawks and Lokis, all those really kick-ass rapid ships. Why would someone have chosen Typhoons, though?
The original reason. I'm not gonna lie. The Typhoons are just very solid ships. They're pretty fast. They have a lot of tank. They're good DPS. They give utility high, I'm pretty sure. I think they're just a solid all-round choice. They're not really a shiner in any particular way. Honestly, the more longer-term tournament guys here could probably say the exact reason why tier 5s were picked. I actually don't entirely know.
I do know one advantage a TFI has over the normal Foon. I can't recall exactly, but I think the normal Foon has a rapid fire bonus, as in shoots faster. A TFI, this is comparing Foons to Foons, by the way. A TFI has a damage bonus. So it can.
That is correct.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a trade-off. It's a where you're getting your damage in, how fast things are overheating. I think a TFI even has an extra high; it can overheat for longer due to that. But then again, that's comparing TFIs to normal Foons, for instance. Any other comments there on Wingnut for that match?
Well, for one, Zama is shit. That is all about that one. But the drone comps are honestly quite annoying to verse. And even the TFIs, I don't know if it would have won without the TFI dying, but it definitely would have been a bit closer. As you say, the problem with chasing these drone ships is that they can go wherever they want. And if these are rapid heavy Typhoons, they actually can't reach across the entire arena. So the drone ship who's being targeted can just leave.
So,
And
Chair,
okay.
speaking about the Zarm now, I'm not sure what your comments is about that, because I see with bans here, the only logistics ship which was banned was the Scimitar Jovco choosing to ban that. What's your comment on the choice of the Zarm versus other logics then?
I'm in the boat of Zarm is either bring it or ban it. In most cases, because of just how strong it is in the format and the lack of DPS that you can bring in a 7-man format.
And normally, do you think teams like to put their reps in the high or run other utilities? Because I was speaking earlier about those medium reps going on the Zarm, but then we saw one match, even though the Zarm was busy dying, it was firing off a smart bomb actually in its highs, which is something you really actually never see on normal logistic ships.
I've been neutered by Zarm, so I think honestly it's best for to use it as utility highs. You don't really get much use out of the medium reps, and if you do, it's very niche. I feel like smart bombs and newts is better to just protect itself.
I know even on TQ we've run them with scrams before just to defensive MJT stuff. But we will soon be heading into a lot of the teams as they're warping. Not quite yet on the arena. We'll be seeing Wolves Among Strangers versus Noir Dot. We'll just quickly go over these bands because we haven't gone over bands for a while yet. Wingnut, if you have them in front of there, can you just go over these bands that the teams have chosen?
Which team, sorry? Just so I get it right.
Don't worry, it's a trick question. Once again, they've chosen no bands.
Mother.
Okay, but we do have the teams taking the grid now, so we will switch over, and it will be myself and Wingnut commentating the next game for you guys.
I'm not sure I want to do that now.
And welcome. We have Wolves Among Strangers in red versus Nowhere Dot in blue, taking the grid now, just taking their final positions as they're all warping in. Wingnut, what are we seeing on grid here?
Well, we're seeing another drone comp, but they brought a Hugin and a Fleet Vigil in it with Frigate Logi, which is an interesting take on the idea. And then we've got a ECM comp with a Leshak, Droga, Navy Auger, and Oneirus backing it up. So honestly, two kind of slightly off comps. Not saying that in a bad way, just that they're not exactly what I expected. So this is quite interesting.
The match will be starting off soon. I'm going to be interested to see what those Blackbirds do. Still quite a potent ship. Obviously, it doesn't have the tank or the utility, but I believe it actually does have an amazing range, which the Rook doesn't have. While the Rook has stronger jams, it cannot jam as far as a Blackbird can.
Yeah, strength doesn't mean too much at this point. Once you've got a Blackbird, it will jam enough to be annoying. That's all that really matters. That being said, they're going against drone comps, so not being able to potentially perma-jam may actually be a negative here. See, tracking disrupt and going straight onto the Leshak immediately. That must be the Hugin ruining the Leshak's day.
I'm also going to be interested to see how this Vigil Fleet issue is going to be performing. Very close to Ahina in sense of what it offers, although it's more damage orientated, and it has a flat bonus to that status weapon fire of 50%. Can't reach as far, but still a rather nasty pick that can actually pick up things by itself instead of requiring the support that Ahina usually does.
Watch this Vipple. You just get hit by all the drones. Goes from half shields straight to half armor. That's the power of the drone comp, and that guy's being webbed and target painted as well, so pop. Svipple deleted, sir.
Like you said, just target painted as well. Advantage of an armor Hugin, devoting all those mids to all the webs, all the paints, just full application on anything they choose right now. And it looks like Wolves is looking in quite a commanding position as they slowly working on that auger of track now.
I was just having a bit of an argument with the guy in Twitch chat. I was actually correct that Hugin is actually target painting, so nah. Looks like the Oneirus is now being targeted as well, going straight through his shields. He'll be a pretty tanky boat, and we'll have to see if the drones can rip through him.
Yeah, he's already getting status web fires applied to him. So it depends what prop mods he's running. Oneirus can usually go deal prop. Some people choose to do an ECCM with a double injector or stuff, but it doesn't matter when a Hugin's webbing you. Although, saying that, the Hugin of Bobby is starting to take some pressure. If they can get that off and maybe freeless Oneirus, it might look like a good turnaround from Nowhere Dot.
This Hugin is still surviving quite well. I honestly expected him to die a lot quicker, but he's tanking quite well.
He is just flying around. I'm not too sure what's applying the damage. It's probably the Shack that's tracking him right now. Hopefully those Blackbirds are going to be able to keep the Oneirus up as this Hugin is dipping into structure. We might actually see the Oneirus of Zerok actually live here.
The interesting thing as well is that while the Hugin is actually quite useful for this comp, I don't think he's actually required in this situation. I mean, obviously it's nice to have him. There he goes, but these drone comps can actually still apply. I don't think they actually really need him as long as they can stay away from the DPS.
Well, you say that, but I mean, even with the Hugin there, which you say would be applying more paints and webs, they weren't able to break the Oneira, so if they can't break him now, they can't do much. I think the only options might be going for these Blackbirds, because it's something you might not be seeing right now, but these Blackbirds, like mentioned before by Ithka and such, is that they'll be jamming drones a lot of the time right now.
Yeah, so you see that you can actually see no jams from the Blackbirds on anything. So I'm assuming that means they are actually jamming the drones. I'll just go check them while we are looking around. Let's
So we
are
do
they
see a
jammed?
couple of drones flying back and forth still.
Yes,
Wolves
they
looks
are.
like they have DPS drones flying around here, not making too much use of armor logistics bots. So that's also helping them. But obviously, that once again mentioned, they are making using a drone comp, so they have to use their drone bay for DPS purely.
And these Blackbirds are actually jamming out drones. So at this point, the Wolves Among Strangers have to go after the Blackbirds because at this moment the Blackbirds are going to be removing their DPS without even having to do anything.
Well, we see Akbad in the Leshak front line there. Seems like a couple of things are going his way, but he's just going and not caring, even though he's getting a little tickle damage there. He's probably pretty confident in his logistics pilot keeping them up at this this so he can just do whatever
Absolutely.
he wants.
Absolutely. Like, if he's feeling threatened for even a moment, he must be a beta pilot needs to be removed. Like, at this point, he is probably the safest ship in the entire grid because there's nothing they can do against him. He's even
I mean,
smart bombing off a couple of drones here and there, so even then, he's almost the perfect the counter to them at the moment.
we actually see a bit of a smart play here happening. So while the Jorger of Alexiev isn't actually taking much damage, only a bit of shield damage, it's preemptive armor bots following him around, feeling that he's able to keep the shack up with his own buffer and the reps on him, and just keeping those rep bots following the Jorger. Although they are going over to the shack right now, but just keeping over in case there was a quick switch. Although the shack might kill those rep bots if he doesn't put his smart bomb off.
Oh, he just smart bombed again. If he gets one more, I think that would kill off those drones. Let's wait and see.
And this is
Is
where
he
it's
gonna
vital
do it?
to have communication on the
Oh.
smallest of things.
That was the second cycle. If he does, I can't remember how many cycles it is now for for medium rep drones. It's been a while.
I'm not going to look it up. I had a whole chart, but yeah, this is where you need to communicate always where rep drones are going. But now we find out the Shack in a bit of no man's land. He needs to probably turn around and see if he can cut someone off to secure on his team, as we see the Neros of Xerac taking a lot more damage suddenly.
And here's the fun thing: the Nearest can actually burn over to the Leshak and have the Leshak smart bomb off these drones for him if he obviously recalls the heavy rep drones. But at the moment, he's actually getting hurt a little bit again. You see all the damage drones all coming over. You see another flight of them actually. Another set of ogres are now charging over there. These Blackbirds have to work overtime.
Especially if they're going to be jamming drones. That's a really difficult thing to jam amongst multiple ECM ships because there's no generally unique identifier amongst them. You can't just say, I jammed the wasps, like I jammed the wasp too. Okay, which wasp did you jam?
Yeah, which one?
Yeah, one of the ways to get around this is to put someone in a squad command position and actually tag drones with letters and say which letter you're jamming.
Yeah, so it looks like actually, as I said that the DPS drones were on the Oneros, all of them got recalled. All of them went back to their ships, or maybe they went for different targets. All those DPS drones left. So the Oneros is now back up to full and doesn't give a damn. So this is just not looking good now for Wars Among Strangers. They just can't break through this.
Nero's likely even getting enough time to reload its Anks or armor if it can, but the not Navitas, the Thalia on Wolf's side, Tom Bombad, getting a little pressure, not really getting picked up. You can see the shields regenning, so he hasn't getting any more DPS pressure, but no one's picking him back up.
And he has to worry about actually a handful of ships. The Draugr and the Navy Augur can actually hurt these small ships with a bit of effort. So he's not like he is as safe as the Oneris is. So that
I think
Thalia and the
we can assume at this point that the Deacon is jammed with them being next to each other and him not repping Nathalia.
Yeah. I'm just waiting to see where they try and put these drones. That's what's going to matter is where does Wolves put their drones. I see a flight back on the Oneros. Is that one flight? Yep. Just one flight at the moment.
It seems like it. I'm also not too sure. Something needs to die at this point. Hope that the Shack can maybe like actually get onto something. I hope it hasn't like burnt out or prop or something because he doesn't seem to be doing a lot of maneuvering right now.
Oh my god! Another flight was on a Draugr. Like another flight of Berserkers was sitting on a Draugr rather than all diving on the Oneros. So they have DPS. Obviously, they're getting constantly disrupted by the Blackbirds. But if they just focused this Oneros constantly and kept working on it, they could probably get through them. But
Noir is
there's-
actually in a good position right now. If they could, they can go down and get that EOS, because that EOS is completely isolated from the Friglogy. Friglogy having a lot shorter rep range, which gives them the option of going for the EOS or just, delaying those Friglogy at the back while you kill the EOS. The EOS of Karietsu totally overextending right now, although doing it quite safely.
Yeah, no one's currently got him tackled. I'm keeping an eye on the Navy Org. Navy Org is he heading his way or is he heading away?
Looks
He's
like they're
doing a bit of
splitting
both.
damage on these Blackbirds now. I'm not sure if that's an intentional split or if ECM is forcing the split right now, but it
ECM,
still
for
looks like
sure.
they're
If-
doing a lot of damage.
Okay, you said about the EOS, the Navy Org has gone over to him, and there's the tackle. So Navy Org has him held down now. So Lashak should be able to burn over, grab this EOS off the Org, and finish him off. So now that they're finally actually hurting a Blackbird, they're going to lose one of the DPS ships.
EOS only finally now going into armor low, and it is a command ship with one of the tankiest bonuses as well. Used to have a active repair bonus, but that recently in the last couple of years, got changed to a resist bonus, making it even more tanky.
It is a very thick boy, that is for sure. Buffer fits are disgusting, especially with Logi. And look at this Blackbird of a Bernie. He's actually finally taking a functional amount of damage. Maybe.
And the EOS is actually grinding down. So it looks like Wolves is putting a bit of pressure on, seeing what they can throw in these. You can see now the Friglogy actually coming in to rescue this EOS, but that means this Friglogy is probably going to put themselves in nuke range of a Lashak and tackle range of a Jorger, which might even switch it back into Nor's favor.
I think he's going to go down for the Blackbird. The Blackbird's now fully wrapped up. They just can't do anything. They've tried repeatedly. They can't focus their damage. The ECM is just ruining them. And the EOS is going to go down. He's now approaching Hull. That's
good management here from Noir controlling this game. Although they're back to bird stepping though, they're losing links. Although I don't think those links were even doing much for Wolves' team, considering where the EOS was positioned the entire time.
Probably not, no. Obviously it'll be a bit more take a bit more time, but it doesn't really matter. Actually look at the Blackbird of Bernie. Look at the Blackbird. They actually might finally get one. He's in Hull. He's in
Probably
Hull. Come on, boys.
We got some toasty reps on the Oni right now.
34% structure, and now he's repping back up.
The Deacon of Ready is dipped a little bit low, but it seems damage has stopped on him. But they might be looking to mute them out while they switch over to these Ishtars, although these Ishtars have the advantage of being at range. That being said, these Ishtars have crept back in to the brawl.
Yeah. They have a time with 15 seconds left. They haven't got the time anymore. These Blackbirds have cucked them the entire way through. That is painful to watch. I'm not into this. That is brutal stuff. Bravo to Noir, very well controlled. I managed to outplay this drone comp from World Among Strangers, and yeah, please exit the building, sir.
And with that, we're back to the studio. And we're back. Ithaka, I'm not sure how you feel, but I feel like that was quite a nice match to watch for Control, pretty much.
Yeah, Control is, in my opinion, is one of the most important factors in any tournament match. Almost more important than DPS and tank. If you can control something, even if you're a slightly lower DPS comp, you can slowly keep them away from your guys or keep them from getting away from your guys, and you can slowly whittle them down. We saw, in various alliance tournaments over the years, armor control being a really popular comp, and just having that control bar. And for reference, on Fancy UI, your control bar is basically letting you know how many electronic warfare modules are being applied, and that is things like a web, newts, like every newt counts, tracking disruptors, anything like that makes it harder for your opponents to run away or to do what they're trying to do or from getting close to you, all counts. So being able to lock down another team, keep them where you want them to be, and apply the damage that you want to apply without taking it yourself is super important. But it's also quite hard to execute correctly. If you do it wrong, if you get out of position, if you lose the control just for a little bit, it can all fall apart. So yeah, good example.
I'm gonna interrupt here because I have so much to say, and it's going to take a lot of time. But this match started out really well. They did utilize the Hugin to snipe off the Hyena and remove a lot of support, so that was really awesome play. But the issue is that the Hugin is just so many points for a big fat Hyena. And as we saw, they ended up trading the Hugin for the Hyena, and I was like, really? Not something you want a lot of points being wasted there. We had the Leshek do the right thing and just burn in and kill the Hugin, but after that it just looks like the Leshek pilot forgot what his micro warp drive was. I was speculating if he had burned it out because he was just sitting there, slow boating around, not really doing anything, shooting a little bit, and then, nah, I don't really want to shoot that anyways. And he was getting tracking disrupted by the ears and that. Like, dude, you're in a Lashak, you're tanky as fuck, even tankier than before because of the battleship buff. You just punch that micro warp drive like Chewie did, and then just YOLO towards one of these drone ships. Well, what's the worst thing they're going to do? Put drones on you. You have a smart bomb, then kill them. You have no Neos to repair you. Like, what are you doing in the Lashek? You could just have gone in, but so much time was just spent with Lashek doing absolutely nothing useful.
Yeah, you got to be way more aggressive with Lashek.
Yeah, man, this is like the second match today. We're seeing with Lashek just being like 35 points of glorified paperweight. You need to be more aggressive. Yeah, you're just sitting back and waiting for the other team to lose the match for you. It might work here in the opens, but when you're going to go into the real deal, then you'll need to use those.
So then,
points.
to combine about what you were saying, Miz, and also what Ithaca was saying about the control, and then having that one slow grindy DPS, but also now the pressure that's being put onto the sack. Chair, how do you feel about these comps which have a lot of support ships, but at the end of the day, they're only relying on one guy that has to do his job right?
I mean, there's no iron team, right? Like, it always comes down to that in really good teams where you don't have... You're working towards a common goal, right? And you have to have those people you depend on to do the job well. And you know who they are when you've been going through these practices. So it's an important job that you have to have. And not everyone can do it.
But do you feel like the strategy is correct of, putting all your eggs in one basket? Because a lot of teams, let's say you're doing a double hype. You lose one, it's not great, but you got another hype. But now you got the Shack that has to win the match for you.
I mean, I think the Lashak is probably the best case scenario for that, just because of how Swiss Army knife it is. It has really powerful nukes. You can put smart bombs on it. It has mids for days, and its lows aren't bad either. So it's not really gimped anywhere, and it's really hard to kill. So if any ship, I would say, is going to be like the focus for one person, where you're going to put all of your eggs in that basket, the Lashak is the one that you have to do it in.
I mean, this message wasn't even that complicated. Just like press approach F1 with the Lashak could have been better than what he was doing.
Yeah, no. I think there's kind of some confusing moments. Who knows? Maybe there was some comms holding him back. But we're going to move on to our next match right now as the teams are taking the arena. It's going to be Rusty Hyenas versus Want to Buy Cat Ears 500 Plex. And we'll be handing over to Ithaca and our new join of Rakados.
That's Radicos, sir.
Well, thank you.
Welcome to the arena with myself, Ithaca Hov, and Rakados there, the boundary expert. The man who knows the boundary and what's beyond it better than almost anybody else except Casper 24. And we're here to bring you Rusty Hyenas versus Want to Buy Cat Ears 500 Plex. Let me quickly go through the Cat Ears team. They're bringing an Abaddon Hyperion Tempest, very heavy in those triple battleships right there. Talia Deacon to keep them alive, a Vengeance, and a Malediction. Radicos, what else is on this arena field?
Well, from the Wolves Amongst, who is what's their names? They're called
Rusty Hyenas.
Rusty Hyenas. They have a Megathron Navy issue, a Tempest fleet issue, a Zarmazad. Hopefully keep those up. That's a lot of buffer and BES right there. Pontifex Lynx, 2 bombers for DPS, and a Punisher, which is my favorite ship to use in the tournament because it is just a little tank. Yeah, hopefully screen off that Baden and that Hyperion on its own.
Yeah, speaking of tank, we have 5 battleships on the field right now. That is 1/3 of the ships on this arena field. All battleships, lots of EHP to chew through. Let's see what happens. So immediately we see the Malediction of Jintan burning in towards the Rusty Hyenas, try and get tackled. Probably screen off that Megathron Navy, which is barreling in straight towards them. Meanwhile, that Fleet Tempest there, though, eating absolute dog shit right now. He is getting just chunked.
Yeah, that Zarmazad hasn't had any time to spool up, and I don't think it's going to have any time to Milton there. He believes the captain of the those Rusty Hyenas, and he's just not going to be able to catch unless we get some rep bots on him. And it looks like, man, he is hitting low. He's hitting hull right now. I don't think he's long for this world.
Yeah, but look at that Tempest of RJ.
On the other side, just eating absolute shit. Oh my gosh. If they can get that down, that'll be huge for the Zarmazon.
They might trade here. They might trade. Yeah, they might trade. But RJ's got more hull still. But that Fleet Tempest does have a lot of buffer. There you go.
RJ holds.
Yeah, but he's probably still going to go down, and that means that they're going to have less baby crafting knowledge on that team now, as RJ is now out of the match. So the Navy Megathron of T-Low is now the one that is being primaried by the Abaddon Hyperion. Still a lot of damage. That Hyperion is going to just be really hard to kill.
Well, I mean, those bombers are still on the field, and they're way out there. That Pontifex is out there trying to help screen against those Vengeance, and what is it? Yeah, I don't think that Vengeance and Punisher, are they going to get those bombers caught? They need to if they want to do anything.
They're going to have to do something about them. If they are pure, oh, there you go. The Purifier has been webbed and scrammed. He is about to just get skadunkadunk. There he goes. He's going down. Both of them now web scrammed. They might be polarized. That might be absolute Chad move. Just vomiting DPS.
And Mega Navy. Oh wow! But again, a big Zarm rep. That's huge right there. That is huge. And on the other side, the Abaddon is just holding, and what does it look like here? A 63% armor with having a Deacon and a Thalia just doing what it is. But yeah, that Zarmazon has to pull off that Mega Navy to get those bombers repped up. I don't know if he's going to make that decision or not, but when you're bringing a Triglogy, you got to choose which one. Yeah, your drones get a bonus to it, and you can throw them on something small and hopefully keep them alive, but you can only do so much against an Hyperion and Abaddon damage here.
It is literally just the Vengeance that is slowly tickling down the Purifier by himself up the back. But the longer they stay alive, the longer they're able to just dunk on the Abaddon right now. The Abaddon's into hull. The Navy Megathron not breaking right now under the damage available from this site. If they don't kill him and they lose that Abaddon, that is game, set, and match for Cat Ears. They will be forever without those ears because they're going to lose so much of their damage.
There it goes. It's done.
There it goes. Yeah,
I mean, those bombers still, even if you take them out still, it's not going to, I don't see a Zarmazon being able to not be able to rep his Megathron Navy here with just a Hyperion going on it, because there's nothing else that's going to go on that Hyperion or on that Mega Navy, Navy throne.
Hyperion, if they can keep the Hyperion alive and then kill both bombers, then it might be able to tank, because the Hyperion, of course, is very tanky, and there's almost nothing on the other side that can kill a Tally and a Deacon right now. The Megathron, though, is just living to win. They have to do something about the Zarmazad. They have to change targets or something, or just at least remove these bombers. They've taken so long to do so, but there's nothing else other than that.
And the Hound about to go down. Here we go. This is what they need.
I think it's too little, too late. Yeah, there you go. So that's maybe what, like 700 DPS off the field. Can Hyperion tank that? He's probably got local reps. He's probably maybe even got double local reps if he's a madman. But I don't know.
That'd be wild.
Kind of stopped dropping. He's stabilized? Is he coming back to life?
It looks like he is. He stopped dipping and he just kept gaining here. Let's see if he gets below 10% again. Here you go, 9%, repping up to 11. Yeah,
there's hits being applied on both sides right now.
Big hit right there. He's getting into hull now.
Yeah, but he's still repping back up a little bit. That Tally, that Deacon, they're going to be overheating their belief. They got to keep him alive. Oh, can they do it? I don't know. If they get that second bomber down, then they probably can't. Oh, he's into hull. Oh, this is so close. Overheat your belief, the Ladio. You can do it. I believe in you. But I mean,
that Purifier is, showing just how much DPS it is really pushing out, and how they need to take that down. But I don't see anything else. That Pontifex is, or not the Pontifex. The Vengeance just needs to get on. Is he still on that?
He's gonna have to be on it. But the problem is, it took so long to kill a Hound, and a Purifier is tankier than a Hound. Jin Tan in the Malediction has been tackled as well. The Vengeance has been tackled. So if that Purifier gets away, I mean, he's not dying.
It's almost down here.
This is it.
I think that bomber's
game over. The Ladio could not do it.
It's over. There you go. I mean, you can't come back from that with that DPS. So
no,
that's a pretty good showing. But it just shows the right target call is being made, and can win you the match right there.
All you can do now if you're Cat Ears is survive a little bit longer. You've got a Vengeance for DPS. Malediction maybe does a little bit, but that's it. You have to accept no Cat Ears for the foreseeable future.
They might want to change that name.
I heard from CCP Zealous that he would have implemented them personally if they had won this match, but of course that's not happened, which is very unfortunate.
That's sad. That's very sad. That would have been cool to see.
Yeah, I know you would have been very, very much into that as a fellow weeb like Jin Tan, but it's not going to happen this time. I'm afraid you're going to have to go home with your dog ears instead.
That's not as bad. I like dog ears.
Well,
Speaking
they're a
of
bit
dog, my
floppier.
GSP is just tearing up the couch right now.
Yeah, well, do you know what's not being turned up? Both teams
Zarmazad
right
or-
now. None of them
they're
are
just
dying.
hanging out doing nothing.
Yeah. We've got another 4 minutes and 16 seconds to look at ships not dying. The Talia and the Deacon can keep alive a Vengeance and a Malediction against a Navy Mega
Yeah,
and a Purifier, basically, because a Purifier can't hit shit that's smaller than a battleship. So there's no
the
chance
Vengeance
he can
has
hit the
committed
Vengeance.
here to the Zarmazad, it looks like.
Well,
It's
if he can
taking
do it,
small
then
damage.
well done to him. But I tell you right now, my expert prediction is he cannot.
It's a pretty good prediction there.
Yeah,
Some
so-
say would be spot on. And also, I am not.
What else could have happened
uh,
here? What could the Cat Ears team have done if they'd burned that Navy Mega down? Then obviously, I think they would have won if that Abaddon would have Hyperion would have stabilized. But
Well, I think
did they make a wrong
Archer
target
going
call?
down, the Tempest just going down was the DPS that they needed to bring down the Mega Navy of Rusty Hyenas. I really think the Zarmazad wouldn't be able to take that, but them trading out a Typhoon fleet issue, or them trading out the losing the Tempest and not trading out the other two battleships right away is what they just couldn't survive. And it was just, I don't think it was a good call to. I would have gone right for the Navy frigs, or not the Navy frigs, the logistics frigs, and try to newt them out. But other than that,
I'd be interested to know the difference in DPS from 3 Tech 1 battleships, DPS and tank, from 3 Tech 1 battleships versus 2 Navy battleships and 2 bombers. Obviously, the bombers are quite weak to any, frigates. Like a worm could just press F and that's it. But
oh yeah, absolutely. They
must have been very happy.
Tackle them or anything.
Yeah, they must have been very happy when they warped in and saw 3 big battleships to, throw their torpedoes at, because that is the perfect
Munch
thing.
on, yeah.
Yeah, no one's bought 3 battleships, I don't think, thus far. So coming in with your 2 bombers against 3 battleships, you must be, solidly erect under the table when you see that.
I mean, when there's nothing to be able to chase you down, like you said, other than a Malediction or a Vengeance, you're going to be able to stay alive long enough to do the DPS that you need to do and trade out, which is what happened here.
Yeah, and it's just a shame that Vengeance just couldn't get those bombers down fast enough. He got one of them down, he got the Hound down. If he killed that Purifier, then for sure, I think maybe would have lasted a bit longer. The Hyperion might have even stabilized against the Talia and the Deacon.
Yeah,
it was so close. When one bomber went down, we saw that the Hyperion went from eating shit to not quite eating shit, which was a bit of a change. So having that second bomber go down would have been massive.
Would have been huge.
But we have another minute and 27 seconds for the Deacon and Talia to keep Jintan and Celia alive. They're doing well with that. The Purifier, though, look, he's actually starting to go down, but the Zarmazad's going to be able to spill on him full because there's no one else to bother repping.
Right, there it is. Huge rep. Massive rep.
Yeah, you can see the little icon has appeared in the fancy UI to show that the Zarmazad Spilly Boy rep has landed on that Purifier. He is now completely safe. He's going home with that. He doesn't have to worry. Don't really know what else to say about this match. Like, we talked about kind of what they could have done. I don't think there was much else. I think their target calling was actually all right. They didn't really have any way of getting the Purifier and the Hound down that easily, so they just had to just go ball out on that Fleet Tempest. They did it, but it's just the setup that Rusty Hyenas brought was almost a bit of a hard counter to them.
Yeah, I mean, with the Zarmazad reps, that's kind of what you need to stay alive with all that barrage of damage, especially against a battleship, right? You're gonna be able to rep pretty dang good. And I mean, that Fleet Tempest did die quick, but that's because they did have 3 battleships on it. But like I said, when that what's it called, the Tempest went down, Archie and the Tempest, big F for him. There wasn't that much DPS and tank there left for the cat ears, or dog ears, we should call them now. I don't even know if they should be called cat ears anymore. I think we should change that name to want to buy cat ears, or dog ears, because keeping those bombers up really did a good job for Rusty Hyenas, and that's just kind of cold cut case right there.
Yeah, and with that, let's hand it back to the studio.
I don't know what a cold cut case is, but it sounded good in my head.
And we're back. So good win there. It was actually looking very in favor of ears there at the beginning, as the TFI on the opposite side was getting dunked on. But what they probably didn't account for was the massive travel time, the long travel time that torpedoes have. So suddenly, once that train of torpedoes started hammering, that was the end of it there. Wingnut, how do you feel about using bombers in these kind of comps?
If we start seeing more battleship heavy comps, like essentially they brought the exact thing they needed because we saw for the first time a triple battleship comp. Okay, cool, that's a great idea. They just happened to verse the one guys who decide to bring bombers. How many times have we seen bombers the entire night? Like once, twice?
We saw like
then,
one or two scattered through.
Yeah, I was like, oh hey, we're gonna bring a triple battleship comp. Great, we're just gonna bring bombers. Like, oof. I don't know. I will say I know I'm gonna be the minority. I like triple battleship idea, taking the battleship buffs and just going heavy on the king level stuff. I'm not sure about the Tempest. I love the Tempest to bits. I don't know in that situation because you've already got 2 high DPS ships. Again, could be interesting. Long range newts and drone DPS and a really big ball could be nice. Maybe a Dominic, same situation, more DPS, less newt range. Like
something I do want to touch on when it comes to those bombers now, Radicos. You actually mentioned there right at the end, but a good job keeping the bombers up. So they only had a Zarm, which we know has that single rep, but we could see there was a time during that game when a Mega was getting hit, a Hound was getting hit, a Purifier was getting hit, and I feel like this is a good case of playing triage while you're not in a fax.
Yeah, I mean, the Zarmazod, it pumps out so much reps, right? But like the drones that you can put out from the Zarmazod also, can keep small stuff alive pretty well. And it showed right there that it, held the Hound up long enough to do enough damage, and obviously saved the Purifier when it was spooling up on the Mega Navy, and then it just swapped right over right when it was in time, and then there was no way they were touching that with the DPS they had. There was nothing to project, nothing to hold it down. The application was just not there for those bombers to go down, and that bomber DPS just wiped through that Hyperion. And another point that Ithaca made is, when one bomber went away, we saw the DPS really go from on the Hyperion eating shit to almost not eating shit, and it would have been huge if they would have just. I don't think there was really anything else they could do. They were doing the best they can. So
I'm just going to quickly mention that
just quickly because we have a next match soon.
Yeah, the Cadillacs team could have had a stronger support wing. They could have replaced the Malediction with a Crusader, so it actually had DPS to burn down these bombers. And another mistake is they still don't have links. They could have maybe had downgraded one of the Logifrics to take one, and then upgraded one of the support ships to a command destroyer, and then had links, and then maybe even had stronger rep power at much stronger tanks.
Let's see if our next teams can maybe improve on what they've seen happen before. But we will be heading over now to the next game, to Mizir and Wingnut, as we'll be watching Fancy Pants and Hangry Nubs duke it out in the arena.
Oh, look, it's your favorite ship, Wing.
Yes, you're going to listen to my... And yes, you're going to listen to my voice once again, as we're having Fancy Pants in red. They haven't changed the colors of the pants, and they're up against the Hangry Noobs. So, Wingnut, what did these people bring?
Well, Fancy Pants are the best of pants because they have brought my favorite ship, the Vindicator, with my most hated ship, the Zarmad. So, +5, -5, they're doing all right. They brought an Oracle with a Navy Orc, so they've got the Oracle as a backup rather than being the core of their comp. Megas, Pontifex, Maximum Links, and a Vexor backing it up, which I'm assuming, I'm just double checking before I say it, is a Maximum Newt Vexor. Meanwhile, the other side have brought Widow Zarm, which is honestly probably the best way to bring a Zarm. And then Draga Double Vedmak, Ponty, Swipple, so this is going to be an interesting match.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of positioning is going to matter here. Can they get around that Vindicator? Okay. Or will the Vindicator get the web on something and then just burn it down?
I honestly just hope the Vindicator charges the Widow. That's all I want to see. Just go for the Widow, nuke it, remove the ECM problems, and then just have fun with the rest of the match. But we'll see what he does. That's probably the best idea.
One advantage of having the Widow is that you can screen the Vindicator with something and then jam the Vindicator, so make it hard for it to shoot back. But right now they're not moving that much, and the Vindicator just going in, or they're just going to present themselves on a silver platter for the Vindicator to numb them. Like a Widow is still not moving. I hope you really have a micro jump drive because you're about to get vindicated.
And the weird thing is, right, is the Vindicator didn't even burn directly at him. The Vindicator burnt around, and he's still. I think he just got tackled, did he? Yeah, there
Yeah,
we go.
they're
He's now
just going for the Sama, so he's already in low third armor left, and the Vindicator's not even on top of him, so it's not even the real pain on the Sama yet. So even though it's the tankiest of the Logis, it's going to get pummeled, absolutely.
And notice the ECM spread. There's not a single jam on the Vindicator. Of course, he's not there yet, but you'd think you'd have a preventive one at least. They've got a jam on the Zarm, Oracle, and Navy Org, and the Magus even. So they're trying to protect their Zarm by the looks of it. And looks like the Vindicator
and
has now been tackled by a Vedmak.
And actually, looks like the Fancy fans did listen to my advice from the last match. Like they brought a rush setup, and now they're actually rushing. They're going balls deep in these fancy pants. So maybe they brought the pants with the room for the balls to actually be comfortable. And they're going in like they might lose their Ogre and Navy issue, but at the same time, like they're still pounding that Southwest. And the Vedmak of Santa is having the Vindicator on top of it. So trading a Vedmak for Ogre is Navy issues is a good trade.
Here's the problem now. Vindicator is now on a Vedmak, but the Widow is going to start jamming him off whenever he wants to. So unless that Vedmak dies, actually, never mind, the Vedmak's about to die. I was going to say that he's going to be able to get away with it, but nope, that Vedmak stayed next to the Vindicator. The Vindicator got jammed after the Vedmak died. So, oof.
I think it's like the Vindicator might have a sensor boosters to get the extra sensor strength, and also having two command destroyers, so they can bring infolinks. And just saw one ship getting deleted, and that was the Swivel. So at this point, it's not really looking really good for Brave. They might be brave, but at this point, brave is not enough, as they are the ones getting caught with their pants down.
Yeah, so I need to double check and look back at it later, but the Vindicator was not getting jammed until after the Vedmak died.
And both the Psalmist and the Magus just boundaried. So, like, even if they had a chance, it's not really going to seem clawback as a Draugr is going down. Like they do some damage to that Oracle, but got a Psalmist to wrap that Oracle. Like, what are they going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to give that kill of that Zarm to the Magus. He's
also not a Vedmak boundary. Like, really, guys, you are in a brawling setup. How do you? Did you just commit Sudoku, or actually trying?
They're running. They're running from the Vindy.
Yeah, they are.
I'm gonna say that Magus got the kill on that Zarm. Like, a Magus just scared the Zarm off the grid, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, fortunately, Hungry Nubs have kind of thrown this one out the window if they weren't already losing. But I honestly, I did not like the Vindicator going for the Zarm first. I would have loved the Vindy just to hold down the Widow so the Widow couldn't jam anything else. Or even if it did, it would have died anyway. It was on a timer. So I don't like it.
I think the issue with the going for the Widow is that the Widow has a high armor and high thermal and kinetic resist. So it's going to be hard for the Vindicator to actually bring it down, especially considering the battleship buff. Still, like, Fancy fans did redeem themselves, and they just went in and brawl, showing that they actually still can prove themselves. You're having GEFs in local and just the Pontifex remaining on the Brave team.
Yep, Ponty's probably going to go for the Edge of Glory. Yeah, he's sending it. Is he going to try and break the record? I don't see an MJD. Nah, he's just going to run up the edge. Fair enough. Well, thank you, Hungry Nubs, for the attempt. It was an interesting idea, but of course, Vindicator is Vindicator, baby. So we're going to head back to the studio and see what everyone else thinks about that.
And we're back. Good to see Fancy Pants has a bit of fight to them this evening once more. Ithaca, how do you feel about Vindy just pretty much clicking approach on the enemy logic?
I mean, that's the way to do it with a Vindicator. If you get near something and then you web something, then it's pretty much game over. I think in Alliance Tournament 16, some team had their flagship warped in at 0. They were thinking they were all extra big chads, and I think it was Snuff, and the other team had 2 Vindicators also at 0, and then that was it. Pretty sure that recording ended up on Pornhub later. But yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do with a Vindicator except run away from it? The trick is
on that.
The trick is to just not run out past 125 kilometers from the center of the arena. 127 would be very bad, because you will be blown up by the finger of God held today by CCP Zealous, who is ready and waiting to make you all blow up with no hesitation.
As for how he
whatsoever.
knows, he put it there.
Exactly.
All applications who bounty today will be rejected from this last match because man, if a Mega scares you into the into 125 like that as a Logi pilot, you're just running with no regard for the rest of your team. It's not a way to go.
Like a Vindicator, I mean, you lose nothing from approaching, especially when there's no long range webs, because anything that's going to stop you, you're gonna delete it as well as you just go through. It's just like a freight train, pretty much coming through, more slow and steady low. But Radicos, we've seen some Widows show. While it didn't work out really here for Angry Nubs, why would people be fielding Widows in an armor team and also using cruisers versus torps versus rapids? How are people actually fitting these Widows?
Well, since we have brought Widows into these armor ones, I believe in the shield one too, you definitely need to have application. And if you don't have the application for those cruises, you're not going to do anything at all, and you're just going to be tickling the opponents and not making it too hard for the logistics. But if you have application and you have DPS to back that application, that you'll be able to do something. But I really don't think cruises are the way to go. I would definitely try torps and just sit at 0 because you're an ECM ship. If something's gonna, lock you up, you might as well just sit at 0 with your jams and your torpedoes and just try to brawl out and go after something because I just don't see rapid heavy clip isn't that great in this meta because you need 3 ships that use rapid heavies to be able to do anything. So
yeah. Well, Mizera, it was looking like we were maybe seeing another control setup there, with the ECM and Triggs. Although this time I think it was Vidmax instead of the Shacks. How do you think it started to fall apart for them then?
I mean, they let the Vindicator just casually burn on top of them. Like I was looking at them, they didn't burn away far enough, and as a cute cat you are having a Surok. Yeah, the lack of screening as well. They should have used, I think it was a swivel they had that could have gone a drive-by on the Vindicator, slowing it down. It just didn't happen. The Vindicator just could burn in without anything to stop him. And once he was in close to the Widow, he could just shoot it if he got jammed. And someone mentioned that in the Twitch chat. I'm not sure if there's someone from your team or just someone who knew the smart move. Like the Vindicator is going towards the Sarmas to push him off, like try and get it to burn away, out of range for any secondary repairs. Like the main repair doesn't have any fall off, but it could push him a bit away and then murder the Widow or one of the Vedmax. But yeah, instead he just got the everything served on a platter and.
So now talking about screening. So let's say you're
Pet the cat, please. Pet the cat.
But so if let's say you're in the setup and you got a Vinny approaching you and you don't have anything tanky like a Vengeance AF, do you look for the evasive play or more of a sacrificial play? Drip feed it what you can to delay it as much as possible.
Well, if you're in a ship that's faster than a Vindicator, which quite a lot of them were, then you just don't get tackled by it. Problem solved.
It's pretty easy
if that is beyond your piloting abilities, then yeah, you probably have to start thinking about sacrificial ships. Like, it is a thing in tournaments. It's easier on 10v10 because you can have more of them to just send something in, knowing full well that you're sending it off to Valhalla, it's never going to come back alive. But it can
like
get
holding
in there
down a Logi ship per se.
Yeah, it's exactly the right thing. You send in like something to tackle a logistics ship to allow your heavy stuff to get on top of it, even if you know that tackle is going to die. It is just fine to do that defensively against a ship like a Vindicator. If it gets on top of you, it will cause you a bad day.
Flashbacks to, I think it was in AT last year. I think it was Valor Chords. They had a Redeemer in the back line, and they had 2 Vengeances for screening that just ignored a bunch of Tempests, which just ran right past. Right to the back line, no screen at all. And I think it also just shows, once again, we've seen with the Vindicator, how important is, we spoke about earlier, control. And screening is another form of control, just stopping those ships to do what they're meant to do. We do have the next round of teams starting to take the arena here. We're going to have Turbo Feed or Glory versus Want to Buy Cat Ears 500 Plex. And we'll be handing over to Rakados, and I will be Radicos. My bad, I am making that mistake again. And myself in the arena.
If you've played Magic the Gathering, I understand because that's where the name derives from. So, Rakdos.
All right, well, we're here in the arena. Radicos, why don't you head over what we're seeing here right now as the teams are readying up?
Okay, I was just locking everything up here. But just by looking at it, looks like who else do we need? Gila. We have a Rattlesnake, triple Gila here. Looks like what else? Fed. I didn't have everybody locked up. I'm sorry. Scimitar.
It's undermanned as well.
I was gonna say what is going on here. I was I don't see. Wow, very undermanned. That's pretty ballsy to go with 3 Gilas, a Rattlesnake, and a Simi versus a Tempest, a Batten, Vexer, Zarmazad, 2 Blackbirds, and a Punisher.
I'm going to be interested to see if these Blackbirds can do a good job of coordinating their jams against these Garissa drones, but I still feel
I think they will be
drone damage to get that's just going to bypass these Blackbirds as well.
Here we go. All right, so we have the cat ears going burning in here to try to get on a Gila. Looks like the Punisher's.
You're screening that Rattlesnake right away. I'm not sure if that looks like he commits to the rattle.
Well, I mean, he's still burning away from that rattle. He hasn't turned. He looks like he's going after a Gila.
This rattle also has rapid heavies equipped right now.
It looks like the Zarmazad is the first thing that starts taking damage.
And we're going to see
for the cat ears
in there.
And then we have the Turbo Feeder Glory Rattlesnake taking some DPS. I really don't. I think they should be going after these Gilas if they want to do anything.
Yeah, I still feel like
I don't know why.
I agree with you is a bad choice, especially when they're so limited on their damage. They might be thinking that because they have battleships, they can't chase these Gilas down, so they have to protect the Rattlesnakes that's being presented to them.
I guess you don't want him to get on the Zarmazad, even though he kind of the Zarmazad's taking a lot of damage, but that's from Gilas and the Rattlesnake. The Scimitar is just burning around doing his thing. He is getting some pressure from the Punisher, but
it looks like Jinten had a Gila tackle before, but he saw that Scimitar is close, and now he's giving hot pursuit to that Scimitar.
Wow.
If he manages to tackle that Simi where it is right now, it's good position for the battleships. But the
Zarmazad goes down. He is done. Adam, man, this is scary for the cat ears.
I feel like the Simi of Terror is about to make a turn, and Jintan does tackle him now, so we'll see if the battleship's able to follow up. Yeah, he looks like he was him out, but I'm not sure if he'll be able to keep it now.
He didn't slingshot, so he is going to be able to keep it. I don't know if this is a little too late already.
Already Blackbird's taking pressure, so they're going to start losing their ECMs, which is giving the only edge they already have right now, because that Rattlesnake is holding its ground quite comfortably. And
it looks like those Gila drones are heading to the Simi right now with a Blackbird going down.
Because I'd say, like, even if they get a Rattlesnake down right now, there's still 3 Kitey Gilas.
There's 3 Gilas on the field, and they're going to munch through everything. That Scimitar, here we go. We'll count these reps here. Looks like that Vexer is the next primary, and it is almost about to hit half armor right now.
So at least good to see that Ears is capitalizing on the tackle supply by Jintan on the Simi, but unfortunately they're not going to be able to keep that as Jintan is going to get that pressure, and they're losing their Blackbirds.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he gets a jam on him, that Simi gets free. That's all over. If that could be one.
And it looks like the Rattlesnake's even just taking advantage of the Vexer being right next to him, pounding him, and damage split over the sword, especially with that Zarmov grid. They're going to lose all their tackle and pretty much going to
the Gilas just go 1-to-1 everything. I mean, really, what's on grid, they can just pressure everything and make everything just be calling for rep bounce. And
honestly,
pandemonium guarantee on comms over there for the cat ears. They're screaming at each other.
Yeah, it looks like they're giving up on the Rattlesnake burning away. I was saying if this Rattlesnake wanted to be cheeky, you could have even just MJD'd you away at this point. Definitely not looking good for them. Simi is getting pressure. Maybe running out
Turbo Feed just went all in with that extra Gila, and wow, that's pretty impressive right there.
Yeah, obviously playing quite
Punisher
a hefty
premium
on the triple repeat there choice, but paying off for them quite well. But then again, I feel they just wasted so much time on the Rattlesnake.
Yeah, I mean, shooting a Rattlesnake was about the best thing that they could have asked for. Because the Rattlesnake is the Rattlesnake will live for a long time on its own tank, and the Gilas will just kite around as long as they don't get tackled. And if whatever's tackled them, they can just call for the other Gila drones to get on it. And 3 Gila drones on a Punisher is going to make short work of that Punisher. So, and it just shows right here that, that that Gila, wow, triple Gila, Scimitar, Rattlesnake, impressive. I mean, I'm a drone guy, so this is what I'm talking about.
Well, I love the Garissa ship too, especially Rattles. I'm a fanboy of those, but I'm also feeling Turbo Feed didn't really have much in the way of screening, yet those battleships
They didn't need to.
Yeah, this battleships felt like never where they were meant to be.
I mean, looking at the ship bans coming from Turbo Feeder Glory, that's pretty good right there, because that helped them out. Knowing that they could bring something easy like that without having a Bargus that could take a clip out on a Gila, by itself.
As the Abaddon's going
and the
down,
curse
leaving...
too. Yeah, Abaddon just ate shit.
Just a Tempest left of RG.
I mean, having a curse band out really helps that too, because that can reach out to can shut down Aguila's burning around, and then Aguila eats shit pretty quick when it's not being able to burn around. I'll tell you that much. I've been enough Gilas in these tournament type settings that if you get neutered out, you're gonna eat shit if you actually get primaried instead of your as they're shooting the Rattlesnake again, because it's probably the only thing that he can shoot. I mean, RJ can't do too much after that.
Well, at least they managed to get the Scimitar off the grid, capitalizing on that tackle. So making a bit of a play there, at least. Not coming out empty-handed, but still a bit of a rough show.
Yeah, I mean, there was execution by the Cattiers as much as they could, but when you're going against, like I said, 3 Gilas and Rattlesnake, it's all over, folks.
All right, and with that, quite a quick wrap-up, we'll head back to the studio then. And we're back, and I'm joined by my cat. Ithaca, I think that was one of the quicker matches we actually saw this evening. Comments on the Triple Gila? I think you love the Triple Gila.
I mean, it was an interesting setup, that's for sure. It clearly worked for them. Don't really know what to say about it. It hasn't already been said. Like, Gila's a very strong ship. We talked about it earlier on when we talked about it being sort of ban or bring. Obviously, in this case, it was brought and not banned. The Rattlesnake putting its drones out as well. That's a lot of heavy drone-based damage, which is very difficult to defang. And it's very difficult to jam out, basically, because if you jam a Gila that's already shooting a target with its drones, it's almost completely ineffective. And then a Scimitar is a very hard chip to track down. In terms of shield logistics, it's definitely the most mobile, way better than any other options. And there really was nothing on the other team that could kind of catch that. The 2 Blackbirds almost nullified by just the amount of drone DPS. And really only the Punisher had any chance of catching that Scimitar, but a good Scimitar pilot can easily outpace a Punisher. So in this case, it worked. Yeah. It was Glory this time, living up to their name.
I think that was actually
did do a good job of getting on that Scimitar. I want to call that out there, because that was a very, very good tackle.
He got there eventually, but he was the only person that could have done so, and then the rest of his team would have taken ages to trundle into range.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looked like... I thought the Simi was going to bait him for a while, because it looked like he was luring him off a Gila, and the moment Jinten approached, he burned his MWD, and it looked like he was going to catch him. But unfortunately, the Simi took quite a hard turn, lost all his speed, and Jinten was managed to capitalize on that. Wingnut, how do you feel about this Garista setup?
Gila's very close to being a bring or ban setup. Obviously, they guys are undermanned. They may do what they had. The Rattlesnake probably one of the best ships I could pick for that. Just the tankiest of tanks I could ever tank while having good DPS. I don't know. Like, that was weird, man. That match was weird. I don't even know what to say to that one.
I don't think it was too weird.
It's a shock value for Wingnut. He doesn't like that shock value. He likes consistency. I don't like
not knowing things, man. No, it's weird that the words. The comp that I didn't expect to win came out on top, and I feel like that one was kind of thrown on the table a little bit. But I mean, what can you do? You see one option, you go for it. You win or you lose sometimes.
Well, Mazir, do you have anything to say then?
I mean, his arm died, so you should be somewhat happy, right?
I have a lot of things to say. I guess it's the third.
So your highlights.
The third time I'm seeing Cattiers go without any links. So please, Jintan, please listen to me and bring some links. I just spent so many points on that Samas. You could maybe have downgraded it to... I believe the Samas is more points than the other Tech 2 lodges, right? So we could have brought either Rediva or Oneros and Guardian, and then upgrade the Vexor to Command Destroyer. Then you're having links, and the links makes your tanks stronger and also makes your ships faster. But also having...
They might not have the skills for links, even though they have unlimited skills in these characters.
Like... Jesus Christ! Like, yeah, and then
Yeah.
they're going for two things and failing at both. Like they're having a heavy battleship brawling setup, and then also trying to be an ECM setup, and they failed at both. Like they don't have the tackle or the really brawling power to brawl anything. Like they only had the Punisher and maybe the Vexor to actually tackle stuff. But at the same time, like 2 Blackbirds is not going to be enough to like completely control a setup. And even like against like, these drone setups, like they had 8 drones in total between 3 Gilas and the Rattlesnake. But still, 2 Blackbirds failed to actually control that.
Yeah, you'd think they should have been able to at least jam off the Gila drones.
But finally, they didn't execute well. Like the Rattlesnake is like one of the tankiest battleships in the game. I think they should have sent the Jintan for one of the healers and have 2 of the battleships go and kill that healer. It's not like the Rattlesnake is going to stop them or anything. It's the only screening they have, and then have
the Rattlesnake still projects though, even if it's getting cut off, it's still gonna get everything.
And then send the Vexor after the Scimitar. Try and push the Scimitar away. Like the Vexor can either damage it, or if it has newts, then get on the Scimitar and newt, so it just struggle with cap. That's what the calling they should have done. Like try and get rid of one of the healers before the Sarmast broke.
Because that's a lot of DPS that goes off if that Gila goes. So
well, we saw the comp that they brought now, Wingnut as well. They pretty much went on the DPS, chucked the Logi in. So no links, no tackle. Links I can understand, but do you think tackle is even necessary in that comp, or they just got away with it because of what they faced?
You mean the
they needed the tackle on when they bring like a Baton. So they should have swapped their Baton maybe for a Hyperion or something like that. The Baton's a really strong ship, but for this, it kind of needs the right support, and they just didn't have the right support to make the Baton work. So there's a lot of things they can work on with this setup.
I'm more talking about the Gilas and the Rattle.
Yeah, like I wouldn't bring an Underman setup. It might work here, but like swap the healer for another cruiser and then add 2 tackle frigates. It makes the setup much stronger.
Yeah, I mean, it was not the prime setup to bring up against these Gilas and Rattlesnakes. So it was kind of when they get 3 Gilas and a Rattlesnake, it's kind of like of a shock value almost for the other team because they didn't expect it, And I think that's why it kind of played out the way it did. But yeah, those Blackbirds should have been able to jam off those drones. I don't know what they were jamming if they weren't jamming those Gila drones. Like maybe they were just jamming the people that were flying the Gilas. I don't know.
It could be. Like we said before, it's a lot hard to coordinate jams between drones because you're saying, okay, which Hornet do you have jammed? Which Vespa do you have jammed? So unless you have a system to kind of say what you're jamming, it's not even like you have to spread it out. So a good way is always to do the tag system that I found, but then that's communication. Like, oh, I jammed C. Okay, no, missed jam on A, missed, and it's a lot of cross communication, which can also clutter up comms a lot of the times. So if a team also isn't prepared for all that communication, it can almost really hinder the entire team suddenly as well. We seem to actually be on schedule, so our rush from earlier is not so required. So I'm just wondering now, Ithaca.
Your cat looks so chill right now.
His name is Loki.
Right.
But Ithaca, I'm wondering, like, would you put Gilas and Ishtars in the same category?
I mean, they're both ships that can have drones, but not really. You can't really replace a Gila with an Ishtar in a comp. It would be a different comp, different strategies. They just work differently. But other than that, sure, why not? Let's put them in the same category here.
I think one advantage Gila has, I think it's rare for a drone ship to actually have a high slot weapon that it still can capitalize on during the game.
Yeah, that definitely helps. Like especially to try and defend against small stuff that's tackling you. Obviously, the Ishtar has that massive drone bay, so you can bring a lot more options with drones. But the Gila has those HP bonus drones as well, so they're really hard to defang. You only need 2 at any one time. So yeah, it's they're not quite apples and oranges, but they can't. You can squeeze one in if you really, really wanted to. But in general, if the Gila was banned, I wouldn't just replace it with an Ishtar. I'd bring something completely different.
Look at these comps.
Well, we are actually going to be finally heading over to the next game of Del Vitrix versus Noir Dot. Once again, no bans from these teams, and then we'll be handing over to Ithaca and Mazir in the arena.
They brought no bans, and this is what they brought?
All right, hi guys. We are in the arena. It is myself, Ithaca Hawk, with Mizir for this match, and oh boy, this is a bit of a doozy. I'm looking at this red team here, and I'm seeing a Navy Scorpion, a Loki, 2 Phantasms. That's some interesting decision making there. Stork, Scalpel, and a Kieran. Miz, what are the boys in blue bringing?
They are bringing drones, like 2 potatoes, a guardian, a magus, a swipple, a heretic, and a tiny potato, the Vexa. And they are like warping in at staggered ranges with the screening ships in the front. And in the meantime, like the red team, they're just all at 50. They're just cuddling nicely at the match has begun.
Yeah, so we'll find out if the lasers from the Delve team can make the potatoes of the blue team into roast potatoes, or whether or not it's going to be a potato salad as they just drop drones and get ready to apply damage all across the field. At the moment, both teams kind of postulating. No one's ready to commit. Delve backing up. They don't want to get too close right now. They want to let those drones have to travel a bit further. But so far, no one taking damage. Is this going to be another stalemate, Miz, or are we going to see one team just rush in?
Looks like the Noir team is moving in. Like a Guardian is taking damage. I think it's the Navy Scorpion just slinging cruise missiles from one end of the arena to another end of the arena. But the thing with these is that they don't apply really well, and the Guardian has a small signature as many lucky ships having. Just looking at the Guardian's speed, it's just cruising around like a 250, so no problem much, just slow boating around and taking this pitiful cruise damage.
Yeah, so far the Nora team not really dropping any drones, to be honest. They're waiting to get in the right position, I think, probably to drop sentries, maybe. But speaking of signature radius, it's like you said, the Guardian, very small sig radius. The ships that have the smallest sig radius on field right now are the Scalpel and the Kieran. So depending on the drone choices coming from Noir, they could be almost impossible to kill. If it's something like sentries, you got to get really lucky and just hope that those guys fly straight towards you like a bunch of lemons. But if they don't do that, you're just going to miss them when you shoot. What are the Noir team waiting for here?
I don't know. Like maybe they're waiting for Fancy Pants to show up or something. But at this point, both teams are playing very defensively, and I think the Noir could move in with the Dominics. Hopefully, they're going to have some neutralizers on these Dominics. Those neutralizers can be really key at dealing with both the Scalpel, the Kieran, and the Phantasms. Since they can shut off these shield tanks in ones. I can't remember what they call now. Shut off the resist, you can shut off the prop mod, and then let the drones do the work.
They're micro jump driving. They're using the center micro jump drive. There they go. They're down trying to get behind them, so they just jumped right down to the back of the arena. Basically in range. It looks like I expect we might see some sentries getting dropped right now. As they're right on. Oh, they're about 20 kilometers away from that Scorpion Navy. He's turned and he's running away, which is the right move. But some newts have landed onto.
They're moving in, yeah. They're getting used to that Loki. That's a really good move. The micro drop drive, well done. Finally seeing someone who can do it. And the Loki, it's going to get capped out. No resist, and then they can just burn it down.
Yeah, and they've got heavy Imperial Navy Praetors out, so it's a lot of laser damage coming in onto that Loki now. And as you mentioned, the heavy newts in those dummies could just be sucking that boy dry right now.
At the same time, the Heretic needs to get some quick webs on that Heretic. Like when they do micro drum drive, they lose the luck, so the Guardian have to be quick, log out these destroyers and wrap them.
Yeah, that's people. It's going to go down. People is down, so they go first blood to the Delve team. But that Loki is perilously low into shield, so he's probably going to go down as well. And to be honest, trading a Sveeple and a Heretic for the Loki at this point, it will probably be a good trade. But they need to finish off this Loki before that Heretic goes.
Yeah, definitely worth it. And I can see like
our Guardian though is struggling. I just looked at him and he is into low armor. If they don't have rep bots out, which they probably won't, they need to get some out and get them on that Guardian.
Yeah, it looks like a Scorpion Navy issue. Like a Guardian, I don't think the Guardian jumped out, just burned too far. This is not good. Having the Scorpion Navy issue, like muting him and having both of these Phantasms on top of him, he needs to burn into his team, and those Dominics get these dummies on top of the Phantasm and nuke them out. You can shut off those lasers. Get moving, guys. Come on, don't nuke that. The other Phantoms, yeah. You have two dummies.
Arche Leone is just hanging on right now, but he's dropping further and further into armor. He's doing really well to actually survive that long against that pressure. As Jiran in the Phantasm now is gone all the way through shield, so he's about to go down. That'll be a lot of damage off of the Guardian. Maybe he can stabilize, but he is bleeding hull now.
Come on, nuke out Jackie, and the Guardian might live.
Thing is, even if the Guardian dies, to be honest, they've spent so long shooting it that the two dummies might be able to just finish off what's on the field right now. That Navy Scorpion is, of course, very dangerous, but they can kill the second Phantasm easily before anything else. And that Guardian is surviving. He is living. The damage has dropped off. Someone might have been neutered out now. The damage from that Phantasm might have just come off completely.
I mean, the Navy Scorpion can project damage far away, but it just doesn't do much damage. So once that the Phantasm goes down, they don't.
Yeah, Phantasm's not shooting. He is not shooting at all, so he's being capped out, I think.
Yeah, so at this point it's GG. Like they lost all the damage aside from that Scorpion Navy issue. Just like throwing a couple of cruise missiles at that Guardian. That the Guardian just casually brushes off.
Yeah, so that was a great example of moving around, waiting for the right moment. You saw the Noir team, when the match started, they moved back away from the center, got themselves kind of positioned. They waited to see what the damage coming in was. Then they moved down, got on that beacon, and they jumped, and they got themselves in a strong position to start laying into that Loki and the support, and that is what's going to win them this match. So great piloting there, great team execution of that concept, because it is very hard to get everyone to jump in the same direction and not just spaghetti all over the arena.
It was impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Like these micro-drop drive plays, they can be tricky to pull off, and they look like they had a little bit of issues, but they did come out on top, and they did really do well with their play, and had a good moment for it, and also well done to the Guardian pilot of Arche Leone, like just being a boss and surviving all this pressure. He's
still struggling right now, to be fair. He's been dropping slowly as we've been speaking. He's bleeding hull. He's only got 37% structure. Damage is still coming in on him from that Scorpion Navy. And the reps aren't really coming in. Maybe he burned out a local repper, because I'm not seeing much in the way of reps.
I mean, he did what he did all he could to.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. The match is over.
Yeah.
He did his job perfectly.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. But voice is hard, and still, he didn't even have any repair drones to support him.
Exactly.
And he still survived for so long. So that's.
Yeah, and that's one. Speaking of drone comps, we spoke earlier on, but that is one of the other issues with drone comps is if you put out repair drones, then you sacrifice damage, and if you have all damaged drones out, then you're not going to have repair drones. A lot of teams will just flood the field with as many rep drones as possible if they're not doing drone-based comps.
And while we're seeing them killing off this Scorpion Navy issue, it's probably a really tanky ship. We're having like a Twitch chat, having a discussion about the previous match with the Fancy Pants versus Noir. Noir fitted the same setup, and people are saying like this is why Fancy Pants didn't rush in. And I'm going to have to disagree. Like you can't compare the Fancy Pants team with this Goon team. Fancy Pants team had a lot of high DPS chips that wasn't reliable on capacitor. They could have burned in, tanked those nukes long enough to kill off stuff. Unlike the Goon team, where two of the DPS chips are so reliable on capacitor. So can't really compare these two matches, and in both cases Noir have been doing the right thing. So also I tip my hat for the Noir team for doing a good job.
Yeah, and that Navy Scorpion is half shield. He's got no friends left. He is by himself on his lonesome as the Dommies pound into him. So it is a potato party right now. Two Dommies and the Vex are still alive, ready to press F and wait to win. Both of them just approaching. You see all the neut effects coming from the three of those ships swarming
I'm
around
just going to address Hail to Kebab. That's actually not your name, but they might have heavy news, but those Lepnias should have like a capacitor injector if like they're proper tournament ships. So you can heat on your micro warp drive. Once you get capped out, and just before your micro warp drive cycle, you inject your cap and then cycle it again. You can burn through these dummies with Lepnias if you know what you're doing. So like, this is no excuse, and Having GFs and local as this Scorpion Navy issue is entering armor.
I think most importantly to point out as well, some absolute top tier skin game going on right now from all these pilots. This is Thunderdome. There is no excuse for not having 10 out of 10 skins, and the skin on that Domi is pretty spectacular right now. Speaking of spectacular, there's about to be a spectacular explosion as the Scorpion Navy lives no longer. He is a former Scorpion Navy. Now he's just a pile of wreckage. And yeah, so Noir take a pretty solid victory there, and we'll hand it back to Zoo in the studio.
And we're back. Just a quick clarification. I was bad and reading the wrong spreadsheet, so there were actually bans happening in the previous game, just in case there was any confusion. But again, Wingnut, I think that Guardian, they spoke a lot about it before, but a Guardian with no rep drones, no one else repping him up, living that long against a DPS comp, he did really well, but the other team didn't capitalize on that weakness.
Well, yeah, because by the time they tried, the Phantasms were completely sucked dry. So all their DPS was gone. They had a Navy Scorpion, which, while nice, it's known for tank, not so much as DPS. And yeah, just by that point, there's nothing they could do. It's they went in, like people making comparisons to the previous match. There is no comparison here. Those Phantasms are completely obliterated by like a couple of nukes. There is nothing they can do. They can't even burn away. So once that happened, once they went in, and this is why this time the Dominixes went in. This is why the Domi team rushed rather than sitting back. It's because they know if we get in close to these ships, we turn them off, we win. And unfortunately, that's how it works. This match kind of was won the moment these teams arrived on grid, as far as I'm concerned.
So, Radicos, do you feel like the Phantasms was just kind of like a flavor choice, or would there actually be a legitimate reason they would have wanted to take them?
I mean, you're using, 26 points for 2 Phantasms and their shield, right? They weren't armor?
From what I believe.
Yeah, those were shield, yeah, for sure.
So then you're not bringing any tracking disruptors or guidance disruptors to have a reason to bring a Phantasm. I just don't see I don't see the reason why I did not like the Phantasm pick. I would have picked anything else other than a Phantasm if I wanted to project with lasers. If you're going to project with lasers, you better be bringing, or not project with lasers, but use them efficiently. And a cruiser size ship, you might as well just bring an A&I with less points and beef up your support wing.
Well, speaking of anything else, there was both teams did end up banning the Gila in that game, Serb as well. What would you then, for the anything else category, put in
An
a
Orthrus would have been better than the Phantasm.
Probably a good call then.
I think an Orthrus would have clipped small tackle and be able to use a defensive scram when they need it, and because it's long enough, to take 1, maybe 2 dominutes, because it's going to have a cap booster in it, so you'd be able to at least screen something or lock something down as well. I mean, it's interesting they brought the Phantasms. An armor I can understand, but
the other thing I noticed, we could it was especially highlighted there at the end, where it's like, excuse me, even though this Guardian had an SNI just smashing on him the entirety of the end of the game, he still took an exceptionally long time to die. And I think,
it wasn't held down anymore.
No, the Radicals, I think you mentioned before when we were talking about the Widow, is application. He was using cruises, 0 application.
Yeah, there was nothing. That Guardian was living because it wasn't caught. It got uncaught, and then it was just able to rep up long enough before, I believe, it got caught one more time before the Phantasm died, right?
Yeah.
So, the Scorpion Navy issue, like you said, the tank is huge. DPS, not so much. Like Wingnut said, not so much. Without application, yeah, and again, it just shows a Guardian, flown right as well. That Alec, I believe his name was, did an exceptional job flying that Guardian. Without having rep outs on it, I don't. The man just is out there with his heart on his sleeve, just fucking flying like a boss. It was really impressive.
Yeah, Guardian is one of the harder lodges to fly due to the exceptional amount of high slots you need to micromanage, along with only having 2 mids, and you're probably going to use 1 for a prop mod always, so what you going to do with that last one? But we do have the next teams actually getting onto grid rare right now. We're going to be seeing Wolves Among Strangers versus Hangry Nubs. Wingnut, do you want to go over their bans quickly?
Oh no, I gotta go find them. I'm kidding. Wolves, my Strangers versus Hungry Nubs. Wolves have banned out Gila, Scimitar, Ishtar. Hungry Nubs banned out Gila, Barg, Blackbird. Since they both banned Gila, Bulls banned the Hyperion, so no Blaster Rush for you, and then Hangry Nubs banned out the Kitsune, which I'm pretty sure Hangry Nubs are like brave, aren't they? Why would they ban out an ECM frigate? That's like their thing.
I don't think we've even seen a Kitsune yet, have we? At all? Or any EAS
Yeah, but
besides
that's
the
their thing.
hyena.
That's their thing. Why are they banning their thing?
But yeah, Hyperion be scary. Bargas, I'm not too sure if Bargas is a proper ban. I mean, it's always a scary ship, but I think things have changed a bit since it always was the monster it used to be always.
Bans are a bit definitely interesting. Like they're banning out particularly strong ships. They're obviously banning out the Gila because if you're not going to bring it, you just ban it. Banning
It
out
looks like they're also
Scimitar for
getting
fighting-
rid of the Kaidi stuff, the Kaidi drones of the Gila and the Ishtar, the Kaidi Scimitar. Interesting that they're branding kite stuff and then they brand one of the bigger brawling ships.
Hyperion, yeah. Have you ever heard of the Rail Hyperion?
Hyperion is surprisingly fast, by the way. Hyperion can get in about kiting setups.
But the teams are ready now, so we'll actually go back to the arena with Wingnut and myself.
Alrighty then. Hangry Nubs versus Wolves Among Strangers, and I see 2 Vigilance, which makes me very happy. But they're with Azam, so again, my happiness is reduced. But yeah, Zoo, talk us through it, mate.
All right. Well, what we're seeing over here on the red side of Fools Among Strangers, we're seeing a Widow once again. Going to be very interesting with 2 Vigilance. I want to see how those things are going to hold up. But Wingnut's fairy ship of the Zarm versus a Jorg and a Griffin. So the Kitsune band, but they're taking a Griffin instead. Blue team here of Angry taking the Abaddon, Jorg, Enyo, Apoc, Retribution, Pontifex. So 2 battleships going against this Widow and 2 Vigilance.
And I like it. They went, okay, we can't bring 2 Abaddons. It's too expensive. Let's bring an Apoc. It's like an Abaddon, but worse, right?
I love the Apocs though. They are a really sexy ship, but I mean, Abaddon does just perform always.
Yep, seeing some ECM being spread out obviously by the Widow.
And like
Apoc is doubling down on the laser DPS.
So some damage being split across the board. Looks like people are taking target's opportunity, although they definitely want to get rid of the Griffin as soon as they can before he starts getting into a kitey position. But Doneros of Adrian getting a bit of pressure on him right now, as long as the Drogue.
Look at the vigilance of Ginger and Bobby. They are charging in for that Oneros. I believe that Oneros will get hard tackled. Bobby is getting hurt, but looks like he's alright. So they're just going all in for the Oneros kill. And they're going to get it, I think.
And we can see the Widow chasing as well. The Widow is sporting rapid heavies right now, but he's also not caring. He's trying to make sure he stays in range of this Kadin Oni, giving full application. One of these Vigis hopefully can get onto him. We've all this Stabber fleet issue. Nero's still doing a good job, but I think they're finally going to be able to grab him now.
Yep, so Stabber Fleet and both Vigis have actually gone in for that Oneros, and with the webs on these Vigis, that should be an easy frag.
But we do see a draw go down on the Wolves side right now, losing a bit of DPS, but they're still probably going to make up for it if they can start piling into the Oneros right now.
Interesting thing as well is that the Pontifex actually has a, I think it's a remote SIBO, because I can see him firing that effect onto his friendly Oneros, so that might be why they're also going for it as well.
True. Well, I mean, if you're not going to jam the Oneros, then you pretty much better kill him right now. So making good calls there. But we can see a rep cloud coming through from Wolf's side, along trying to keep the Vigilance up alive. Vigilance doing a good job of tanking. We can also see the Griffin of Envin Lust has escaped that initial pressure which was on him, and now he's just going to be an annoying little shit there at the edge of the arena constantly.
Yep, so this Oneros is actually surviving quite well while being pounded by 2 DPS cruisers and then whatever you call the Stabber Fleet, like a giant frigate, I guess. And it's doing very well at the moment. This is one thing Oneros can actually do quite well, is tank sort of autonomously. They will get some Logi drones normally, but I'm not seeing any. I'm actually just seeing ECM drones and DPS drones.
We see Ginger, Foxtrot, and Vigilant taking a bit of pressure as long as this Oneros taking... it's pretty much turned into a giant brawl where this Oneros is captured. The battleship's now getting into the mix. Probably some heavy newts going to be flying around, although an Apoc and Abaddon, I think, actually have to divert all their highs to their guns, actually. So, but the Oneros stepping into our hell.
Yep, the Oneros is about to go pop, so means they will finally get rid of that. And there actually is the Abaddon and the Apoc right next to these Vigis, so they might just switch onto the Apoc next, because he's right there. Then again, they might start killing off the support wing, which is also a very reasonable thing to do.
Yeah, good idea to get rid of the Lynx or the Tackle. Jorg's also got the decent DPS. Obviously, they're going to make a choice, like you say. Apoc's going to be the better one, with the Abaddon being more resistant. But the Zarm on the Wolf side taking a lot of pressure suddenly.
look at the Vigi and the Saber fleet. They are going in to rescue their Zarm. They're going for the Enyo who's got him tackled. With Vigi webs, they should be able to rip that guy apart, break their Zarm free, and hopefully the Zarm will survive. The Zarm is getting really low.
I don't think he's gonna make it. I think he
Might
got
be
a
a
bit
bit late.
complacent with the brawl that was going on and actually drifted into range, getting caught. Although we see the Griffin as well, Anvil that's getting a lot of pressure suddenly. I think the APOC is aiming to get some tracking shots onto him.
That's a bit too late, I think. They could have potentially saved him, but nope, unfortunately, that is their Zarm down. They're going to try and kill the frigates around them. There's actually quite a few of them, by the way. There's a Retribution there, a Ponti there, a Draugr over there, so these Vigi's going to have a good time if they don't die to lasers.
Yeah, like I say, they clean up the support. They're ready to see one get. We see the Griffin dipping into low armor right now. He has to be careful of this APOC keeping an eye on him, taking a pot shot every now and then when he gets that transversal a bit low. But these Vigis are in a tough spot right now.
Yeah, and I think at this point, unless the Widow manages to like perma-jam off the Abaddon and the APOC until these Vigis kill the rest, they might just straight up lose this. One Vigi goes down, second one is going to go down too. They're not very tanky, they're just very good DPS. So,
yeah, unfortunately, their fitting restrictions make them very hard to plate and tank and do all the things, especially once you fit blasters onto them. A lot of damage, awesome application with those Serpentis webs, but once they start getting pressure on, especially with the Logi gone, they're going to start melting as we see Bobby go down.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's going to be it. Like, with the core of their DPS removed, they still have a Stabber fleet. It can do well, but there's no way Stabber fleet and a Widow can take down 2 battleships. It looked like they actually had it at the start when they got really near us. They looked like it was going to go their way, but then immediately Hungry Nub saw that and took out the Zarm in response.
I think the unfortunate part was I think the Zarm drifted in where it shouldn't have been and ended up getting caught. I'm not too sure if that was the case or someone was screening him tackled. Probably get some comment on that later.
Because there was 4 tackle ships in the opposing team.
True. But we do see some more support getting destroyed here on the Hangry Nubs side. But like we're still gonna have a battleship showdown, and unfortunately, I think an APOC and an Abaddon at full HP is gonna win.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm honestly quite happy to see this. I did not expect the Laser Boys to win, but I mean, hey, if you bring a worse Abaddon with your Abaddon, I guess that works, right? Because it seems to work for them.
Well, maybe I hope we're not going to watch a Griffin run around the arena for the remaining time here, as we see the Widow go down. Going to be probably going onto the Stabber fleet, which is in range of the battleships right now. Ponti might go down as well, but I'm going to say it's pretty much in a win here for Angry Nubs thus far, unless they do something drastic.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do, unfortunately.
Oh, and like, thank goodness that Griffin dies, because I was worried we were going to watch it run around for the rest of the game.
Yeah, well, now it's an SFI, and this is the funny thing, like, this guy will die, but look at what it takes for him to actually get shot there.
Well, is he going to get the Ponti?
Nah,
he gets the Ponti.
Oh my god, are you kidding me?
So that's probably just a nice little morale boost for Samuel there in the Stabber fleet issue, but he will unfortunately go down, giving the well-earned victory to Hangry Nubs with the Laser Boys. And with that, we're going to be heading back to the studio. I'm going to assume we can just keep talking for now then if we're back or not. Ithaca, thoughts on that match then?
I thought it went quite well.
I want to know the Kitty's thoughts.
Yes,
what do you think, Kat? She doesn't think much. She thinks it was terrible. I quite liked the piloting, to be honest. Like, it's not an easy comp to fly. It's rife with missed shots, basically. If you don't line your ship up right, if you do a little bit of manual piloting, you can really make things come together. And by transversal matching, for example, it really will pay off. Likewise, I'm not the biggest fan of relying on an ECM in comps, and a Widow is a huge amount of points to do that. So, all in all, pretty reasonable match.
I like your little mascot there, Wingnut, but I don't approve of the abuse. Mizir, you got any thoughts on what just happened here?
Yeah, like I discussed, it started out really good for the Wolves team, and then they lost the Sarmas. Maybe I've been a little bit complacent, as the commentator said, but I think another big issue was they had the Griffin. I don't like the Griffin because it has no range bonus, and it's a Tech 1 frigate. And the
limited jamming ability too. Like,
I mean, the tank on that Griffin is like a cardboard box. You're relying on that to defend you. And in this case, the APOC of the Dell team, I think it was them. The APOC did the right thing and like loaded Scorch and then utilized the range bonus and the tracking bonus and did some pot shots on that Griffin, forcing the Griffin to burn out and basically nullifying that Griffin.
Yep.
So it's like a small frigate that cost a lot of points and didn't do anything.
Cost way too many points for what it does. In this format, at least.
Like, you probably, maybe, if you're going to be looking at that sort of role of a ship, Radicus, I'm not sure, do you feel like just a T1 Vigil with the paint would have been a lot better then?
Absolutely. I mean, the Widow had RHMLs, right? Had Rapid Heavies?
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been helpful, especially with the Vigilance. I would have probably dropped one of the Vigilance for an ANI in that comp, because you really only need one Vigilant, and then, bring in an ANI with some beams on it, and you can still project at somewhat mid-range, but still be able to... I think it would have tanked more. I think it would have been much better than bring Vigilant. Then you could have changed the... you could even upgraded the Vigil to something else. If you drop down to only one Vigilant, one ANI, you can bring that up to what? I don't have points up in front of me. But
I disagree with the Vigil. It's only the Vigil that really needs application support, and for that you have like cruisers that can web down something. Like if you have webbed a cruiser, then the heavy missiles can apply.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Fine. But instead, they should have had a tackle flick, like a Punisher or something like that. It could have screened for the Sarmast, or it could have gone in and tackled stuff faster.
Well, like I said, if you would have dropped down to an ANI instead of second Vigilant, you would be able to upgrade to a Vengeance, or any other armor AF. Like, it would have been way better, or even a Confessor.
Yeah,
I think that we do agree that like something would have been better than a Griffin. But if you were going to do the long range E-Warship, a Vigil, but like Mizir says, tackle would probably just have helped overall.
Absolutely.
Wingnut, I'm not too sure what you feel about the Vigilance, because I feel like they're one of those ships that look good on paper, but under pressure they normally just don't hold.
They are a ship on a limited time. You've got a lot of DPS and a lot of application help, but you're not going to last. You're not going to be there the entire match. You've got maybe a minute to do your job and either get the hell out or die. I do agree on not bringing two. Initially, I was thinking, no, I'd bring two, more DPS. But to be fair, the ANI would bring two newts, which that comp would have probably quite have liked having a bit of extra newt support there.
The thing about Vigilance is they do bring utility, but they also can be quite a threat because of their web bonus, that you make yourself a very easy primary because you're not that tanky. So you warp in, you see that, okay, let's kill the Vigilant first and then go on with everything else. And that's why you don't last necessarily as long, because you're high danger, high threat basically, and a relatively soft target to remove.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good point you raised there, Wingnut, where if it's like you're putting yourself on a timer, but now you also have a Widow, which is more of a control
long-term
grind setup. It almost a bit contradictory.
I kind of think that
the buys you time. The Widow buys you more time. That's the thing.
I think in this situation, the 90% web is overrated. It's not really needed for them. They could have swapped the Vigilance for two other faction armor cruisers. Have saved some points there. Still have some strong cruisers. Like an Orca Navy issue has like two utility height slots. It has better tank. It can project better with beams because it can actually brawl with beams.
Mm-hmm.
So you got so much more value out of that. Or you could not bring something like a Vexor Navy issue or
Vexor Navy issue would have been good too instead of Vigilant.
A secondary Stepper Fleet issue. I mentioned before that you can dual prop that ship and make it really tanky. It's one of the, at least where it's slippery, like it's one of the main issues about these faction cruisers is that they're soft. By having the dual prop, you can sig tank a lot of things. You can sig tank those battleships. It would just been so much more value.
So obviously they ended up winning now, but Radicus, do you feel like the APOC Abaddon was a good combo for battleship choices, considering the Hyperion was banned?
I don't mind the APOC, because it has the tracking bonus, and like Ms. said, it forced off the Griffin in this instance. Now they didn't know they were going to bring a Griffin, but two Abaddons, that's would have been 26 points per, so there have been 52 points. So like, losing 2 points for the tank that you get with the Abaddon, I would rather bring the Abaddon, but the APOC isn't a bad fit if the Abaddon is banned. That'd be one way I'd do it. But
Well, yeah, we do have the teams taking the arena now, so we'll be seeing Rusty Hyena's team versus Javkar Mine Division, and handing it off to Mazir and Radikos in the arena.
Hello and welcome back to the arena. We're having Rusty Hyenas in red, like a nice rusty color, and we're having Javco Mining Division in blue. And with me is Chair. And can you tell me about these setups? They look a bit similar.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two Scorpions, a Zarmazad, a double Vedmak, Rifter, and a Row Diva. And then the other side we have a Widow Zarmazad again, with two Vedmaks, a Augur Navia shoe, and Kitsune.
Yeah, the countdown is going to 0 right now. Like one thing to mention is that one of the Scorpions walked in at 0, while the other one is at range, and the Widow and the rest of the blue team walked in at 50. And we see like the small ships, the Samas and the Kitsune are just burning away. They want to pull range so they don't get sniped.
Yeah, the initial damage going on a Pontifex and a Scorpion right now, but looks like the Pontifex has taken most of the heat, as it should be. In this setup, you want to get rid of the links, so the Zarmazad is not as effective as it usually is.
Like they're shooting this at the race of the Scorpion at 0, like, but they don't have any scrams, so he can just micro jump
try just MJD, yeah.
So it's like, how are you going to finish this off? You're going to need to scram him, otherwise it's just waste DPS. Meantime, the blue team's Vexor of Pulse is taking a little bit of damage, but no real commitment yet.
A lot of jockeying positions right now. Looks like we have the Vedmak of Pulse trying to burn in, but it looks like he's turning around now, pulling a little bit of DPS from the other side. While Pavel, on the Rusty Hyenas, is taking damage primary. But it doesn't seem...
he's doing the right thing. He's burning back and forcing them in close. And it looks like he swapped to Erlin in the other Vedmak. And he's turning around, so this is actually good piloting. And as the County Roads lol in the Twitch headset that goes rooting on red team because they have a Rifter, and I agree with this. Nice to see a Rifter in the tournament.
Absolutely, I love the Rifter. It's my favorite model in the game.
Erlin,
Erlin. Oh man, getting DPS put on him.
Why are you burning in? You need to get back, mate. You're tackled now. Now it's too late. This is not good. Okay, gets a tech 1 cruiser, so you don't have much resist, so you can't really just out.
Yeah, that Augur Navia has got on him, and there's nothing this Vedmak's going to drop here, no matter if he has what kind of trig ship repping him. With all this DPS, and he's out, and he is out, just absolutely slapped. Yeah, these Jovco Mining Division actually putting in work here, while their own Vedmak is taking DPS, but he's getting ripped up real easy. Ooh, the pop shot on the Kitsune there.
Yeah, I saw Crom chasing, but I think he's giving up. Did get some shots on the Kitsune, doing the right thing. Maybe the drones can finish it off, but yeah, you need to.
That's about the best you can do with the Kitsune right now. Oh, it looks like he is going to die. Yep, and he is down. That's huge for the Rusty Hyenas team, who seem to be taking DPS between two ships right now. Looks like Krom and the Rifter. He is getting primaried. I want to see this guy live here. Let's see what he can do, but he's getting slapped at with some cruisers that have pretty good tracking, so he's not really long for this world here. Hitting hull, and he is out. Well, it's interesting to see here that the well, you go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so you're seeing a bit of trading back and forth, but losing like one of your Vedmaks is really crucial, so I feel like blue is in a leading position. They still have the Widow, but they're up against two Scorpions, so like the red team do have the highest amount of jams remaining, but they then don't have as much DPS and the utility remaining.
Yeah, and with that Pontifex going down, ooh, a big rep from Milton, the captain in the Rodiva, to Kvizak in the Rusty Hyenas. Let's see if they stay on him while he has that full spool on him or not. Looks like they are. He is just slapped, absolutely taken off this field. I thought maybe with that Rodiva given that large rep, he was going to stay alive there, but I was did not see that coming. Wow.
Yeah, being in a destroyer class ship against two Vetmax, a Drogo, and an Orca Navy issue, it's really hard to survive because these ships can apply well to you, and they're just going to spool up.
And it doesn't take long either.
And they have the neutralizers to like swap off your prop mod or anything.
Mm-hmm. Imagining, I don't know if this Zarm here or this Rodiva is jammed by the Widow or not. But it seems, it's not holding the DPS, which, like we've alluded to a few times with the cruisers, the DPS cruisers that are on the field, and the Jogger. Yeah, this is Pavel. He's about to hit hull here. He's about to just get slapped into oblivion.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, losing that Pontifex means they lost their info links and their armor links, so their jamming strength is going to go down, their tank is going to go down, and at this point, I just don't have the DPS. Armor Scorpions don't do much DPS.
Yeah, now they can just shoot whatever they want, even if they're jammed right now. They can either shoot the Scorpion that's right on them, or then they can switch to the Rodiva, who's getting some decent reps in, but those are going to last so long. With an Ansel there, I mean, he's gonna, if he flies right, he's gonna do well and stay alive as long as he can. But the second any jams, miss or whatever, they're just gonna go right. He'll get slapped, and there he's an all, and he's dead. He's down. He even got a rep right at the end, but it was not enough. These Scorpions I just don't. They do cause a lot of havoc, but versus some comps, it's real easy to overcome them.
I think they're spending a little bit too many points on two Scorpions, lacking out on DPS, and Jericho did a really well execution. They had these 3 DPS cruisers and actually utilized them well, and showing like a really good alternative to bringing Vigilance. I can't remember what the points are. I think the Vedmax are a little bit more
expensive. Vedmax is one less than a Vigilant.
Well, then they should have brought a Vedmax instead of Vigilance, and there's absolutely no reason in this format to bring a Vigilant, in my opinion.
I mean, unless it's banned and you need a cruiser or something to web, but you should have something else to be able to do that. Like a Vexor would be just as good, a Vexor Navy. There's just so many other things. The Vigilant is just not a ship to bring in this setup. I mean, I'd bring them to opens just because it's fun to fly, and I'm not trying to show anything in opens with my team. But other than if in serious matches, if we see the Vigilant, I'm be calling it pretty early for that team.
I mean, I just realized one good reason to bring a Vigilant, and that is if you are on Raditkar's team and you need to prevent him from boundering, you can bring a Vigilant and
that is a very good suggestion. I would like that, because I like to just burn in one direction. I mean, that's why it's Ramrod, right? We're just going.
Are we seeing that Nessat Razor, the Scorpion that did warp in at 0, being the last man standing on that red team, but he has already tackled by the Orca Navy issue, so just clean up job. Yeah, and blue team just lost a Kitsune. Like, that's not really much of a loss, to be honest. Kitsune did the job in the beginning, and that's all it needed.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the Pulse and the Vedmac did really good of drawing the DPS and bouncing, just on the fringe of getting caught and then burning back and getting out, and then burning back in, and did a really good job of keeping the attention of their DPS, and I'm sure as long with Widow and Kitsune there that were still alive, like there's a reason why they couldn't apply to things, because they're getting jammed by you can't keep up to that.
I also think that both Logi pilots in this fight deserved a shout out, because having these trick Logis in this match where damage is going to all sorts of places, and they still managed to do really well. And that being said, the last red ship goes down, and we're coming back to the studio.
Yep, good job, blue team. Which would be the Jovco Mining.
And we're back. Obviously the most interesting thing standing out to me, it was an ECM matchup with a Widow Kitsune versus 2 Scorpions, but Ithaca, 2 Scorpions.
Yeah, that seems excessive to me. I get that you wanted to put all your eggs in the ECM basket, and you think, "Hey, Scorpion's pretty cool ship to do that." But with the point penalty of bringing multiple of the same ship, you do that again with twin Vedmax. I'm not. I mean, the Vedmax, yeah, I can understand a little bit more, but yeah, 2 Scorpions. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I don't know if maybe Wingnut would have a better idea of what to bring instead. He's an expert theory crafter in these manners.
Love.
Sorry, what?
Expert theory crafter would like your opinion on why it was Rodiva versus Zarm.
I'm guessing it's just pure points. I'm not sure on the double Scorpion either, but I kind of see, I think, what they were going for. Essentially, that you have one jam the target. Oh no, they're now shooting me! Quick, quick, other Scorpion, jam them, stop them from shooting me, and the Rodiva is just going to keep you up. I get the idea. I don't see it really working because your DPS is now whatever missiles or whatever guns you fit into the Scorpion because they have no DPS bonuses.
Well, then, speaking
And
of
your Vedmax.
DPS, oh yeah. I mean,
And your Vedmax,
Radicus,
you got-
I think we mentioned before when we were talking about the Widow of Cruz earlier, all the ECM battleships, the Widow and both Scorpions, were running rapid heavies. Would those Scorpions have better been off with Torps?
Oh, man, I try not to bring torps unless it's I have enough application, and I don't know. The burst DPS is really nice with the RHMLs. I
With a double
Yeah.
score?
with the double Scorp, yeah, I would rather go with RHMLs. Now I did go against I did practice versus a psychotic tissue again in the AT for the AT, and they would bring triple Scorps, and it was probably the most painful match to go against. That it was really hard to go against that. And they did use RHMLs in the beginning, and once we kind of parsed that out and got them like maybe a match or something, they just switched to Torps, and I think the Torps did a really good job on the Scorpion, but I think it's more of like the setup and what you're intending to bring, and what you think you're going to see in the bands. Overall, I would rather take the RHMLs just because. Just for the burst damage with the Scorps, because like you're using newts too, so you're just trying to apply everything onto whatever you're newting, and keep the logi jammed.
I suppose the double rapids helps you to capitalize on that small jam window that you get as well.
Absolutely.
All right, Mazir, do you have any thoughts before we start having the next team warp in here?
I think I mentioned all the things. Like one thing, like big credit to the Jericho Mine division for actually showing off how to like pull off this kind of setup. Like it's really close to the previous setup we saw with the Widow and the Vigilance and the Stabber Fleet issue. So I actually think like this was a better version of that setup, and they executed it well.
All right. Well, for the last match of the evening, we're going to be having Fancy Pants versus Shadow Cartel. They're not on the arena yet. But just to go over the bans that they've chosen, Fancy Pants has chosen to ban the Vindicator, Gila, Zarm, with Shadow Cartel banning the Golem, Gila, Ishtar, with both teams banning the Gila, the bonus bans being Orthrus and Loki. So hopefully, Wingo, do you have any thoughts before we head over to this match?
Not particularly. I'm just curious to see where this goes. It's a very wide spread of bans. Obviously, Gila ban, always.
As they are taking the grid here, I think there's going to be some very interesting picks for our last match, but we will be actually heading to the arena now for our last match, commentated by the lovely duo of Ithaca Hawk and Wingnut.
Hello, we're back again. It is myself, Ithaca Hawk, and the lovely Wingnut Cross, all the way from down under. Ready for the last match of the day here in the Anger 5 Games Open. It is Fancy Pants versus Shadow Cartel. I am excited for this match, especially seeing what Fancy Pants have brought. Bit of a interesting comp, bringing Leshak Oniro's Curse, Draugr, Magus, Vexor, Dragoon. Wingnut, what the heck are Shadow Cartel bringing?
Well, Shadow Cartel have brought Damnation Oneros, Triple Phantasm, okay,
Oh,
Magus Rifter, I feel like Shakodel's out here to try and prove a point with these phantasms, and to be fair,
I think they're
this is not
listening
going
to
to go well
me.
for them. This is not going to go well for them. Curse and Leshak, they might as well have left those phantasms back at home.
Yeah, so the Fancy Pants team warping in mainly 30, except their Neros back at 50. Meanwhile, Sharakartel coming in all at 50. So the match countdown underway, about 30 seconds until we get into this. But I mean, my first thought is that Leshak is going to make some short work of those Phantasms if it gets anywhere near them.
That's going to be the question. If it gets them, it will kill them. But these phantasms, the one thing they can do very well is be incredibly slippery. Incredibly slippery. The curse can nuke them out pretty badly, but I'm not sure it can nuke out 3 at once.
I mean, can 3 Phantasms break a Leshak that's been ripped by our Neros in the first place? Like, who knows? But we'll find out as the match starts. And immediately, Fancy Pants retreating away from the scary Leshak across the way, and both teams target painting each other, but that's about it.
Oh yeah, that curse already tracking shop in pain. Missile guidance shop, like it's just everything's having a bad day. Meanwhile, the Shack is actually getting tracking disrupted for the opposing side, so they're not getting off scot-free themselves.
Yeah, both teams now are fully in coward mode. Neither team wants to commit, but to be fair, I think that Fancy Pants are in a much better position to commit, and there they go. They're starting to do it. The Magus is now starting to come forward. All of them, the Leshak as well, coming towards the Sharakartel team.
By the way, he did not go for the Phantasm nor the Oneirus. He went for the Damnation, the thing with the signature of a moon.
It's probably the one thing he can actually hit reliably at the minute with his long-range ammunition. The Magus was coming in, and he got a bit of a chunk taken out of him, and he turned around and ran back to his friends. So the dance continues, but Sharakartel definitely slowly moving in. Moving away from Fancy Pants.
Miz was right. Oh my god. Every single Phantasm just tracking disrupted the Leshak, and he immediately stopped shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to happen. Beginning of the match.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. There's some damage being applied to some shields across the field. The Magus is actually the only ship that has so far touched armor, but he's being repped relatively simply right now by his buddy in the Oneirus. The Rifter, I mean, props to that guy for bringing a Rifter. Style points right there. Is taking some damage as well, but no one is looking under threat. Let's just say that.
Yeah, but honestly, I honestly expect these Phantasms to do a bit worse than they are, but they're doing perfect. I actually think the Phantasms will hold in this situation because they're just going to outrun that Leshak permanently, and there's nothing they have on their team to really go out and catch them. I mean, Vexa can try, and he can maybe nuke one out.
Do you know what can catch them, though? The arena boundary, and they're all getting to within 30 kilometers of that wonderful space, which Radikos knows so well. And they're moving quite quickly towards it. The problem is, if you're a kiting team and you're running away, in open space, that's easy. You just keep running that, a line to a moon and off you go. But here in the arena, you're going to have to change direction. And as soon as you turn up, down, left, right, whatever, the other team can sort of start to cut off that escape route a little bit and really force you to get closer to them. And that's what we're seeing. That Draugr is getting in about them right now. And the Rifter, though, that Rifter is eating dick. He's about to go down unless his buddy can save him.
No, don't lose the Rifter, no. They actually get a chance of winning this. Don't do it.
Yeah, you've got to save the Rifter. He's going to be the only sort of heavy I use inverted commas, tackle.
He's so screwed, dude. Look, he's actually next to the Leshak. He's hard tackled. No.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 drones on him too, friendly and enemy. Save the Rifter, save the world.
I mean, they kind of are. He's repping back up now.
Look at the Vex. Look at the Vector of Zarthol.
Oh shit!
He's
here we go.
Armor.
So I mean, if you trade that Rifter for a Vexer, that's a reasonable trade right now for them. But it looks like they're going to keep that Rifter alive. He's right back up to full. He doesn't have any hull buffer left, really. But if they can keep him alive long enough, then it's going to get. I mean, it's Vexer drones that are on him. So there you go. The Vexer's down.
Yep, but the Oneirus is still hard tackled by, I believe it's the Mega. So at this point, he's going to get held down by everything. There's a curse now nearby and giving him nuke pressure as well. So that Oneirus is going to go down. They will lose the Vexer. The other team might lose the Rifter. We'll see. But
yeah, losing that Oneirus though, big issues because the damage that's being pumped out from this comp, although the Vexer's been taken out, and that's a significant amount of damage right there actually, there's still a lot of damage coming from even just the Leshak alone can probably kill each of these ships before it dies.
Control space, stop moving, control space that ship, come on. I believe in you.
Dragoon's going to go down as well. The Dragoon's going to go down as well. The Oneirus is somehow there to go. The Dragoon's down, so that's more damage off of that Oneirus. Tackle and small newts probably on that Oneirus as well from that Dragoon. So maybe he starts to stabilize. There's a whole bunch of
Oh,
rep bots around him that are not being cleared, and he's
The
probably going to be
curse is
repping
being
on
decked.
cap.
it's tackled. Curse is tackled by a Magus. Maybe they might switch for the curse here and try and remove that. If they do that, they will just try to win this. That curse is the one thing holding this team together.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they need to get rid of some of the tackle. They needed to kill that Rifter. They needed to kill that Magus. They haven't done yet. They're going to kill the Neros, which is good, but are they going to kill it? I think they're going to kill it. A couple more
It's going to be a
hits.
question if they kill him quickly enough. If they kill him quick enough to save the curse, maybe. But the Oneris is living to win right now. He's bad to go down.
There he goes. Neros down. That is a big loss right there. So trading a Logi for a Vexor Dragoon and kind of a chunk of your damnation as well. It's not 100% optimal.
Curse is safe. That's going to be brutal for Shadow Cartel now.
Yeah, so at this point, kill that Rifter because he's no longer got a Neros buddy to keep him alive.
The
Just
Nearest
rep
is
bots.
tackled now.
There you go. The Nearest is tackled as well from the Fancy Pants team. Shadow Cartel, probably with a Rifter. So at this point, just kill
The
that
Magus
Rifter.
is
It
on
shouldn't
it.
be that hard to kill it.
It was
I mean,
Rifter and a Magus. Both of them tackled. But the Rifter, again, showing why the Rifter is the best ship in Eve. I don't know why we all went past it. It's the best ever.
yeah, it looks pretty cool as well. Thing is, that damnation is just sitting there in 70% armor, so they've just completely forgotten to shoot him anymore. But he's not regenerating the shield, so someone's still got their drones on him. There you go. Now he's starting to take chunks again. So a little bit of not the best
Leshak's
target
going
in my
much
opinion. I
better.
think they need to kill the Rifter, but the Leshak is spooling on the damnation.
The thing to remember is also that Leshak is still being tracking disrupted to absolute hell and back. So the damnation is the one thing he can shoot, and even then he is missing it.
It's true.
I actually watching the beam miss. So if you're
Yeah, I
missing,
mean
a
the
damn
damnation
beam,
is literally he's done the smart move and he's going in and basically trying to orbit the Leshak, which if he's being tracking disrupted means that he's going to be really struggling to hit him. And also he's able to sort of tackle him. There you go. Rifter is down finally. 0-7 to him. Great job. But the
Bravo.
next thing going down is probably going to be that damnation.
At this point, I don't know if Shadow Cartel can win. I still see potential, but they can't break anything anymore. They haven't even broken their Neros. They've been beating on them for a little while now.
Yeah, and their damnation is getting ready to drop as well. And once he goes down, the links are going to tick off in maybe 60 seconds or so. He's getting chunked right now. That Leshak has spooled up to giga damage, just beaming on him, and there you go. He is into the Shadow Realm, and the Magus as well. So now, can 3 Phantasms solo a Leshak, a Neros, Curse, Draugr, and a Magus? Bringing solo back channel would tell you absolutely. However, I'm really strongly doubting it.
Yeah, I don't see what they can do here. They haven't been able to kill really anything. The Curse is actually kind of, in a weird way, it looks like it's dogfighting with them. Like they're all cycling around each other and they're just trying to like muck around with each other at the moment.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the
weird.
thing is though, those Phantasms can just make it take a really long time by tracking disrupting everything. But the fact that the Magus and the Draugr are still alive means that they can, one at a time, be tackled. The Leshak can trundle into range. All he has to do is slap his newts on it, hit control space like a strong boy, and then turn on his damage, and that's pretty much it. Goodbye Phantasm, see you next time.
Yeah, and the Phantasm can obviously try and keep range, and that's not a terrible thing, but unfortunately getting constantly neutered by the Curse the entire time, and then the Leshak will occasionally pop in with a heavy nuke and a grapple as well. It makes it really hard to actually keep that range while also being close enough to actually apply something to the opposing team. But look at the Oneris actually. Are they gonna actually are they gonna finally get this guy? Maybe?
Nope. Phantasm's down now.
Come on.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
mean that Leshak is barely moving, which is exactly what he wants to do. All of the Phantasms are in range. They are hard to hit. He is still being tracking disrupted, but critically, one of the Phantasms is dead. So 1/3 of the tracking disruptiveness is now being removed. So the second one now webbed. It is just clean up. GF's appearing in local. They know the game is up. So are 3 Phantasms a good choice in a 7v7 tournament format? I think conclusively we can say no.
Well, I mean, if they
wonder
made the
how
right
Leshak
the
does
right
he
calls and
feel
killed
like
the smaller ships that they should have with the Phantasms, like the Magus and the Draugr, then the Curse and the Orneros wouldn't have been able to tank so well.
Your American accent is incredible there, Wingnut, even though you're all the way from Australia. So, but thank you for that insight. I can't remember what I'm calling it out.
Thank you so much.
Rakados, I think it was. It was jumping in there. One single Phantasm left to clear on the Shadow Cartel side, and then it will be a commanding victory from Fancy Pants. Could they have done anything different, Wingnut?
Nope, they did honestly the best they could. Like legitimately, they flew that very, very well. There was nothing they could do. It's just the Phantasms. They're not entirely useless, guys. I know people are gonna say that, but They are very, 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 very situational, and this is not the situation to bring it.
Yeah, I mean they're really good at getting away from stuff and kiting around on gates and being kind of like small gang nano dickheads, and they have a place in tournaments. We've seen them being used successfully in tournaments, but I think with 7 on 7, you just lack the support for 3 of them, or you make sacrifices elsewhere in the comp. But with that being said, that was the last match of the day, so let's hand it back to Zoo in the studio.
And we're back with that lovely final game. I love to see a bit of action there right at the end. Radicus, well, it's actually still fresh in your head of commentary. Again, we're seeing Phantasms go up against a bit of a Newt Nightmare, obviously with the curse being featured, but this time it was Armor Phantasms, which have their mids a bit spare. Was Phantasm still a bad call in this case?
I think with what they were trying to do, is they were trying to, like leave it Leshak open, and then it got brought that they could TD it to hell. But when it doesn't get screened, there's nothing really you can do. And they can do whatever it wants around the field and boat around and just do its thing. Like Ithaca, repeating kind of what he was saying, that it was just barely moving and doing whatever he wanted to. And when you have that happening, and you still have links on the field that your Phantasms would have eaten up, even under the reps. But instead they go after these these cruisers that a curse usually isn't an armor. It isn't, it's not specifically an armor ship, but it does pretty well in these smaller tournaments, and just shows how much it can tank. I remember going against double or triple curses against Tempest and AT practice last year, and it was probably the worst thing in the world flying a Vindicator. I'll tell you that much when you're shooting with null and you can only get out to 1,000 meters. So you keep that curse keeps on you. It's it's a huge part of the match, but it's going to sit there and tank when you don't shoot your when you have lasers that can track a Draugr and a Magus very easily. And I think that was one big thing that they missed out on, and that's why the 2 cruisers, the Neros and the Curse, were able to live through that DPS.
I know the Princes have the Nightmare, but I think a Curse was the real Nightmare over there. But please go ahead, Miz.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Yeah, I think the key thing here is that these Phantasms are extremely weak to neutralizing, and they had like a Leshak and a Curse to nuke them out. So with these Phantasms, they need the prop mod to tank. They need which requires capacitor. They need the capacitor to shoot. They need capacitor for the E-War, and the Phantasm has a notoriously bad capacitor. So even if it's having an ejector, it's going to struggle under so much nuke pressure. And another hard counter we saw in this match was the Leshak countering himself with the poor target calling and piloting. Like even when the Oneos was tackled, the Leshak just went straight for the damnation, like going past the Oneos. Could have just popped the neutralizers on the grappler on the Oneos, pressed control space, and then melted the Oneos much faster than the Oneos died.
Well, luckily it's still the open, so teams got their last practice in today, and hopefully that the Shack pilot is going to have a bit more experience under his belt now. But Winged, do you have any closing comments for the evening?
The Phantasm wasn't a bad idea, it's just the Curse ruined it. I had a plan, as far as I saw, to just ruin a Leshak. They can shoot the Leshak farther than Leshak can shoot back, and the nukes can't quite reach. So they have a room to play. But the Curse just removed that, because every time they try to get to that position, they get nuked out for too long, they can't shoot, they can't get away, they can't shoot back, Leshak holds them dead. Game over. It's the Curse that just turned them off.
Ithaca, anything from your side?
Yeah, just get better.
Cruel commentary team tonight. First ripping into Fancy earlier and finishing off there. But obviously, it's easy for us to judge people here from the sides, and we don't really know what's happening, and they're more in a high-pressure scenario. But I do also think we have some experience here. But obviously, we're going to wish best luck to the teams going ahead. Opens is finished now at this point. The coming weekend of the 30th, we will be seeing our feeders match. This is where teams who have not secured a spot yet in the Angry Games will be fighting in a small tournament to secure those last 8 spots so that they can progress further into the proper Anglo Games tournament. So please join us this upcoming Saturday. Thank you very much to the CCP team. Thunderdome was an absolute joy to have this evening, and for CCP's others for running everything in the background along with our ref team of Sophus and Chocolate Rain. And thank you to everyone else in the commentary team. We hope you're going to stay around as we support the rest of the EVE online community here on Twitch with a raid that will be going through. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we wish you all a good night.